What would you do with $75 million?
I would travel the world, I would invest. I know a bit of a boring answer. And I would help people when I can.
I'll buy things for my family.
A house for my mom. Yeah.
Invest so I keep some money for the future.
Everyone's just out here saying, oh, I'd spend it on my family, I would invest it smartly in smart enterprises. We need Americans, because Americans will come out here and be like,
I'd buy 10 Ferraris, bruh.
What if I say that I think you're lying?
I don't know. Do you think I'm lying?
Yes. The first thing that you're gonna do is buy all of the jerseys from your favorite players. I think you're gonna buy 10 fancy cars and go crazy.
Okay, I'm lying.
I'd invest it into probably a retirement account.
Why are you such a liar?
I'm a finance major. I just graduated with a finance degree, so.
So don't lie, you're gonna pay off your student loans first.
No, actually I wouldn't, because I have an interest-free loan from my parents.
Oh, so he came from money. Let's go to someone who doesn't have a silver spoon in their mouth.
That's right.
What would you do with $75 million?
I'd buy an esports team.
Hell yeah, this is what we're talking about. Why are you wearing a Teemo hat watching Dota? Do you think that maybe this is, you're a traitor?
Yeah, this is my trader, yeah.
A big PC. Like a nerd, like a real nerd.
Lakeside mansion, you know, a good little Lamborghini here and there.
Ooh, what color?
Ooh, has to be red.
Super Asian looking Teemo, what would you do with $75 million?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Sick.
Buy my first PlayStation and Forza 6. That's it.
Yeah, PlayStations are expensive right now, so a lot of that $75 million is going towards that. Okay, rejection. It's just like high school all over again. I'm all alone.
I'd buy this arena, honestly. I would name it after myself, and everybody would have to play at my arena. This would just be mine now.
You think that this is $75 million? A little delulu.
Okay.
You could buy the parking lot.
Parking lot, I'll name it after myself. Perfect.
Yes! Okay, now shoot. Ooh, maybe he can use the $75 million to buy some skills.
The Esports World Cup, the most elite competition in the world. Its trophy system is built to match. The Club Championship Trophy, awarded to the one club that rose above the rest and reigned supreme across all EWC games. Every participant earns a key engraved with their name. That's their right to compete. Reigning champions hold a key unlike any other. The game trophy is the ultimate prize for every game's champion, incomplete until a champion's key is inserted. The champion's key frame is locked into the totem, a stone marker of legacy, etched with every EWC champion. The losing keys are crushed. The champion claims 3, a personal reminder of who they defeated. The rest are preserved beneath the totem in resin. Every fallen contender captured forever. Will you be remembered or forgotten beneath the totem? At EWC, nothing is granted. Everything is earned.
Standing on the historic Point Neuf, bridging Paris's legendary past with esports' brightest future. We're here to celebrate the Esports World Cup 2026.
Where the world's greatest players have earned the right to battle for the ultimate prize in esports.
With the magnificent Palais de Justice behind us, where justice has been sought for centuries, it is only fitting to ask.
After last year's unforgettable teamfight tactics final between Weibo Gaming and Virtus Pro, who will justice favor this year?
Notre-Dame Cathedral is a place where history reminds us that greatness endures.
Because nothing is granted, everything is earned. This is Team Fight Tactics at EWC 2026. Welcome everyone to the 2026 Esports World Cup here in Paris, France. We are back with some team fight tactics for the third year in a row. What a 5 days this is going to be. We're talking not only the club championship race on the line, but also $500,000 up for grabs. Who's going to get it? We're going to find out together. Hey everyone, welcome into the Allianz Vault, your home for the next 5 days. I'm Taylor Reflection, so we're joined by Stuart and Hoope. Good to see you both. Stuart, what's going on? Team Fight Tactics, we're back.
It's great to be back. It's great to be back here in Paris as well. It's going to be an incredible ride. 4 versus 4 Team Fight Tactics. It's what we all love.
That's right. We love it, Hoope. I know you love it too. We're going to be guiding the viewers along each and every day.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, summer in Paris is so good. 4v4, this is a total celebration. Having the players here is just amazing.
That's right. $500,000 on the line. That is significant when we're talking TFT. Hoope, what does this money mean, not only to TFT, but the competitors competing over the next 5 days?
Personally, it's life-changing money because normally they cannot be full-time pros in TFT sometimes, and now they have the chance. But most importantly for the club, being able to get a contract long-term and, of course, give them points for the club championship will be an amazing feature for them, and that's the point, obviously.
Quite significant, isn't it? Hey, we've got a fun format this year when it comes to TFT. Listen up. This is everything you need to know.
Tacticians from
Ý anh em. Trận đấu này chắc là mình sẽ xem Nông Sim với cả Aurora nhá. Xem thể huấn đánh. Một trận dễ đồng thời sẽ là Weibo Gaming và Team One. Thì Weibo là đương kim vô địch của năm ngoái. Hôm nay ấy, thì mình chắc là mình sẽ xem Nông Sim với Aurora trận 1 này. Xong rồi trận 2 thì tôi nghĩ là có 2 trận là MOUZ với AGAL và Zeta và Dinh Đông mà. Xem trận nào nhỉ? Chắc là xem Zeta với cả Dinh Đông đi. Trận thứ 3 thì có 2 trận là Team Vision và Coi. Godline, Esports và Fnatic. Trận 4 là Vitality và Flashwork, Nemesis và Virtus Pro. Chắc là xem Virtus Pro rồi. Cổ vũ cho đội tuyển Việt Nam. Có Maric, NCC, Milo. Tien. Rồi đây chính là bảng A. Sẽ có Weibo Gaming, Vitality, VSN và Godline. Fnatic, Mcoy, Flashwork và Team One thì mỗi trong kỳ Team Fight Tactics tại EWC năm nay thì sẽ có 2 bảng mà A bảng B, mỗi bảng sẽ gồm 8 đội thi đấu vòng bảng theo hình thức nhanh thắng thua. Và sẽ chọn ra tổng cộng là mỗi bảng 4 đội vào vòng playoff. Vòng playoff thì chỉ có một mạng thôi. Ở bảng B thì chúng ta sẽ có MOUZ, Nongshim, Nemesis, Zeta.
So excited to see them come back.
Ding Dong, VP, Aurora và AGAL.
So good. I mean, they have one man who just won Tactician Crown, playing so amazing and having a chance here to outperform. This is the only thing he's missing to win. EWC 4v4, and this is the time for them.
Absolutely, Virtus Pro as well. So many teams to talk about. We'll be talking about them all day long. Speaking of which, we've got two wonderful streams for you to watch at home. This is stream A, but we also
Kỷ địch ngày hôm nay thì trận đầu tiên sẽ là trận đấu giữa Weibo Gaming và Team One. Điều thứ hai sẽ là Zeta và Ding Dong. Tiếp theo sẽ là Team Vision, MOUZ, tacorp. Và cuối cùng là Vitality đối đầu với cả Walling Flashworth tại luồng livestream A. Với luồng livestream B thì chúng ta sẽ có các trận đấu giữa Sim Redford và Aurora sẽ trận đấu chúng ta sẽ xem ngày hôm nay. Ngoài ra thì tiếp theo sẽ có trận đấu giữa MOUZ và AGAL, Godlight Sports đối đầu với cả Fnatic. Và cuối cùng sẽ là trận đấu tâm điểm Nemesis đối đầu với Virtus Pro. Và sẽ cùng cổ vũ cho các anh chàng Việt Nam của chúng ta.
Last week was a big week for the Esports World Cup as far as the club championship was concerned. Teams took to the stage in Free Fire, League of Legends,
Dota 2.
But for Dota 2 and Free Fire,
đây chính là các đội tuyển đã vô địch của kỳ Esports World Cup trước, và ở giữa thì chính là kỳ Esports năm nay. Sẽ có các Kiki. Ngoài ra thì ở dưới đáy thì có rất là nhiều các Kiki của các đội tuyển thua cuộc đã bị nghiền. Sẽ để ở dưới phần dưới những cái tháp vinh danh này, và mỗi đội tuyển sẽ được chọn 3 đội tuyển để cho vào dưới đế cúp của mình. Mình cứ xem cờ đi, xong rồi PUBG cũng được. Chỉ có một câu lạc bộ vô địch. Wow.
Esports clubs send their players to compete. Every placement, every win, every podium earns points for their clubs. At the end of 7 weeks, every point counts. The club at the top walks away with $7 million and the title of best esports club in the world. It's not about being the best at one game. It's about being the best across all of them. Depth, versatility, consistency under pressure. One championship trophy, one title. Who will take it? Watch history unfold in Paris at the Esports World Cup 2026.
Play is in our DNA. Whenever we let it out, it becomes our superpower. Now imagine an entire city being built to supercharge it. Kadir City, powered by play.
Club championship race, it's week number 3. Things start to get serious for the club championship race, which is a lot of money, by the way, and a chance and opportunity to really revolutionize your team, your roster.
Wow, và đây sẽ là thành tích của các đội tuyển trong hai tuần thi đấu vừa qua. Đứng đầu là Navi với 1.750 điểm, tiếp theo là Vitality với 1.400. AGAL là đội tuyển có 1.100 điểm. 2 năm trước thì team Falcon là team vô địch khi có số điểm tích lũy giữa các đội tuyển ở đâu là lớn nhất. Và năm nay không biết là ngôi vương sẽ đổi chủ hay Falcon sẽ tiếp tục giữ được thành tích của mình hay không.
Navi's not playing in TFT is a big deal, given the fact that, again, everyone is looking to catch up to them. There's a very real chance. Now, our first matchup, though, is going
Chúng ta sẽ có 5 phút nữa thì sẽ có opening ceremony.
Versus Weibo Gaming. You've got the title defenders going against a roster of T1 who has been desperately trying to get into the winner's circle. Now, they have a chance this year and they bring in a new gun.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they have Tien Anh that been doing amazing. He went final.
Anh em đang xem rảnh thì cho mình xin một like livestream và một subscribe kênh nhé. Cảm ơn anh em đã xem.
and hate sometimes also, Stuart. Now with a meta more developed, it will be a chance also to see the gameplay so far.
Yeah, I think it's a great matchup. It's good enough to be a semi-finals, even a finals matchup.
Absolutely.
I think for a first game of the tournament is going to be fantastic to see if Weibo Gaming can continue their dominant run from EWC last year.
Well, the competitors started arriving this morning, and Degon had a chance to catch up with a couple of them.
What's up, guys? We are live here from the entrance at the Port de Versailles as our TFT players are coming through. You see Flash Wolves, the APAC competitors qualifying on in. They're walking in to try and start a great day. Here comes Nemesis. Welcome, Nemesis. How's it going? Can I interview you real quick? How you feeling here in Paris?
I'm feeling good so far.
Yeah. Who are you most excited to face?
Có vẻ như là bộ môn đấu trường chân lý này thì sẽ thi đấu ở STC Arena, cũng chính là khán đài lớn nhất trong tất cả khán đài của EWC. Cũng chính là tuần trước đã diễn ra thi đấu Liên minh huyền thoại. Tuần trước thì tôi vừa mới đáp máy bay xuống này, mới đi Paris xem nên mình đúng là năm nay mấy anh đi cây được cái gì búp thế nhờ. Mấy anh trình diễn một cái màn trình diễn quá là kinh khủng thì cỡ quần cả BLG, Gen và cuối cùng là TİNG để lên ngôi vô địch EWC 2026. Đây chính là đội tuyển AGAL cũng đang chuẩn bị bước vào khu vực thi đấu. Wow. Vitality. Ông vàng.
Tournament as a whole, I mean, this is such a stacked 4v4 event. How are you feeling about your chances? You're the #1 qualifier, but you just shared the bus with last year's finalist and last year's winner.
Yeah, Setsuko just like 2 minutes ago was saying that the winners are probably going to be on this bus. It's going to be us and Weibo.
All right, well, best of luck today, brother. Good luck. All right, take care, guys.
Anh em chờ một lát nữa nhé, sẽ có opening ceremony. Chúng ta sẽ cùng chiêm ngưỡng các đội tuyển thi đấu. 2 phút nữa thì chương trình sẽ được bắt đầu. Đây là bên này là team One Weibo à? Thì tôi xem sang luồng livestream B nhé anh em ơi. Chờ tí nhá. Tôi chuyển luồng phát nào. Xem trận Weibo cơ. À quên, xem trận Aurora cơ. Anh em muốn xem trận nào? Muốn xem trận Weibo hay là Weibo với cả Team One hay là Nông Xin Zephyr với cả Aurora? Mà khả năng tôi sẽ xem thầy Huấn đánh nhá. Thầy Huấn thì lại Weibo, tại vì Weibo đương kim vô địch á, nên là được thi đấu ở sân lớn. Còn Nông Sim với cả Aurora sẽ thi đấu ở sân phụ thì có 2 sân thi đấu song song. Một sân chính và một sân phụ. Đây tôi đổi luồng đã nhá. B đây rồi. Ok. Xong. Ta hãy cùng xem trận thi đấu đại chiến Trung Hàn của bảng B, Nông Team Redford và Aurora Gaming.
We have teams where they have 2 players trying to win out and 2 players just trying to avoid 8th and claw a few positions. So I think it does just
Ăn tí.
Even though we're at the back end of the season, we won't have see coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
ngon.
Griefing is expected and encouraged, and I love that, right? Because it does go to that team coordination style. It's like, all right, from my spot, what can I do, right, to, just grief the enemy team?
Now we are moments away from our players walking on stage and our opening ceremony for TEAMFIGHT Tactics. We're only here for 2 weeks and we have many more to go, many more teams, many more titles, many more games, many more competitions. But particularly for our players in TFT, they have flown from all over the world. They have gone on the stage right now for you. EWC 2026 opening ceremony for TFT.
Of the top teams from all over the world battling out to be the best at teamfight tactics. Now you can enjoy the show? Yeah. To win it all, it's all about strength.
To win, it's all about it again.
Anh em nghe xem âm thanh thì ok không? In the city of love. Để vlog tuần trước đi Paris xem nên điện thoại tôi từ từ nhá, tại vì hôm nay tôi mới bay về á, để từ từ rồi làm ha. Nay mới bay về, sáng nay mới đáp xuống Hà Nội, rồi về nhà là cô stream luôn cho vui vui. Và đây chính là opening ceremony, vẫn là canh chàng đánh trống như thường lệ. Chuẩn bị cho tuần thi đấu tiếp theo của eSports World Cup, và mở đầu chính là bộ môn đấu trường chân lý. Em chờ tí nhá, ô sao lại tiếng đâu nhỉ? Wait. Ok, từ rồi ơi. Nghe này mất tiếng hay thế nào? Để tôi bật lại tiếng nhé. Rồi. Wow. Amazing.
Welcome everyone to the Teamfight Tactics Tournament at the Esports World Cup 2026. We are going to witness a brand new story starting this year. However, last year we saw Weibo Gaming battle it out with one more take.
Okay, so let's
A little slower.
That's right, Kitty.
Ooh.
Here, officially, it is time.
Đây chính là sân thi đấu tại FTC Arena, điều lớn nhất tại eSports World Cup.
And of course, for your viewing entertainment. Ladies and gentlemen, every single lobby is going to test their skill. Every single decision made could be the difference between walking away, lifting up that EWC 26 trophy, or walking away empty-handed. The pressure does not get any higher than this. It is going to test their camaraderie. It is going to test their skill. It is going to test their resolve. And at the end, we will know who is the best teamfight tactics team on planet Earth.
The club championship is the ultimate race for glory. Across 7 weeks, competitors will be battling it out to climb the ladder and raise the ultimate trophy, the Club Championship Totem. I am in front of the Totem Hall, where this Saturday I will be welcoming the new winners of Esports World Cup Teamfight Tactics. But of course, it is not just about lifting that trophy. It is about securing those valuable Club Championship points, along with putting your keyframe into that Totem Hall etched in history, like Weibo Gaming did last year. After 2 weeks of competition, the battle for these points is starting to be very intense, and you know this week is going to be as well. So without further ado, it is time to welcome all of our teams for Esports World Cup Teamfight Tactics. It is time to welcome all of our teams for Esports World Cup Teamfight Tactics. Last year's runner-up, they were the underdog. Can they do it this year?
Đây chính là Á quân của năm ngoái, Victus Pro, các anh chàng trai đến từ Việt Nam. Đội tuyển tiếp theo được giới thiệu chính là Team One. Vintium SCSC, Crazy Moving và Sang Yop. Hình của AGAL với Achen, Litochun, Rijue và Wemolokyu. Movistar Koi. Chúng ta sẽ có Daisum, Riven, Oreza và Sappho. Để đến từ châu Âu. Tiếp theo chính là Hotline Sport. Một tuyển này châu với Dihua, Delsic, Robuster và Rico. Đây là đội hình của MOUZ Sport với Kubison, Travis Squad, West Jungle và AGAL.
They might be veterans of EWC, but they're fielding 4 new players this year. Fnatic.
Hình của Fnatic với Dark Nerf, Philip, Stella Mini và Botsukill. Wow, Nemesis. Có Panche, Investing, Phoenixa và Serra 20. Đây chính là hình của Vitality với Kabasuzum, Mew, Prestivian và Setsuko. Hình rất là mạnh đến từ châu Âu. Thầy Huấn kìa anh em ơi, thầy Huấn. Đội hình của Aurora với 60 Second, Ahao, Wonmi và Lilo. Và có lẽ thì nổi bật nhất chính là thầy Wonmi đã vô địch chung kết thế giới mùa vừa rồi. Đấy thì cái hình của Dingdong Gaming với Chukwi, Hồng Liên, Casey và Xiao Shuquin. Oh.
The China qualifier winner, the powerhouse Team Vision.
Team Vision với Janbai, Francie, MOUZ và Kojiu. Những người anh em Flash Warp với Ironbox, K33 TRV và A1 QH, A1 QH. Tiếp tục một người anh em Apex là Zeta Division, có Title, Summertime, Zatsuashi và Maori. Nông Sim Redford với siêu đúc Samdi, Janing và Talijan. Đúng. Wow.
And finally, our title defenders of EWC TFT 25, Weibo Gaming.
Và đội tuyển đương kim vô địch năm 2025 Weibo Gaming với Thiên Long, One LBTZ, Sao Pimi. Và họ sẽ đến đây để bảo vệ chức vô địch của mình, hay một đội tuyển khác sẽ lên ngôi trong 2026. Chúng ta hãy cùng đón xem để các anh chàng của Weibo Gaming, những đội tuyển nào vô địch sẽ được mời lại vào năm sau để bảo vệ chức vô địch của mình, mời trực tiếp và không phải vượt qua vòng loại của các khu vực. Và giải thưởng vô địch năm nay sẽ là 150.000 đô cho chức vô địch. Sau đó thì sẽ là 90.000 đô cho Á quân, 50.000 đô cho vị trí thứ 3 và Theo mức tiền sẽ giảm dần xuống đến vị trí số 16. MVP thì chúng ta cũng sẽ có 25.000 đô tiền thưởng. Ở giải thi đấu năm nay ấy, thì sẽ tiếp tục chia thành 2 bảng thi đấu với mỗi bảng có 8 đội và thi đấu theo nhánh thắng nhánh thua. Chọn ra 4 đội xuất sắc nhất vào vòng playoff.
However, right behind us, you guys will be able to see we're gonna have Nongshim Red Force versus Aurora Gaming.
Và tiếp sau đây sẽ là trận đấu giữa Nongshim Red Force và Aurora Gaming.
However, you guys told me they're coming in as the underdogs?
Yeah, you might think, okay, this is a full Korean roster, coming in as the champions of APAC. But this roster has so little experience in 4v4, just in general. They have no crown appearances between them. But in 4v4, we've seen this before, underdogs can thrive. And clearly, that qualifier went so well for them, they're so in sync.
Absolutely. During that qualifier, right, they took down Zeta Division 2-1, took down Virtus Pro 2-1 as well. So maybe they're not the underdogs. I mean, I think they have a hard matchup here against Aurora Gaming, but they still have a good start to, you know, the EWC season here.
Talking about Aurora Gaming, let me count 1, 2... 16 Worlds appearances on Aurora Gaming. We have Lilwo, Hwanmye, Ahao, thank you, and 62nd. These guys, they have the most appearances in attack round of any other team.
It's crazy. 16 just on that roster. I think the next roster has like 12, and then it's just a huge gap, right? Hwanmye with 7. Every other player having 3 attack round appearances themselves. Lilo and Hwanmye are attack crown champions. They got 2 just on one roster.
Yeah, they have such an crazy lineup, but we will say their 3rd seed coming out of CN. So we've seen in the past that the strongest roster doesn't necessarily always thrive. That's why Nongshim do have a chance here. We see the super team from CN last year, Falcons, fell short. Maybe Aurora the same. We'll find out soon.
I will say, though, you know, these teams that are underdogs that like, okay, maybe they can come out swinging. They still gotta, you know, get their sitting, right? Get their footing here at EWC. It's going to be that first match on stage, a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations on you. I think maybe Aurora will take the win here, but I would expect them to have some good showings during the course of the event.
Yeah, and for Nongshim, it's a real test of can they handle the pressure of playing in a venue. We know that this Aurora squad has been to the highest stages before. So Nongshim, as you said, it's all about adjusting, maybe finding their feet in this first series. But I think when you approach something with nothing to lose and people maybe underestimate,
đây sẽ là video giới thiệu các đội tuyển
It's kind of crazy that somebody's called a tiny giant.
mở màn cho ngày thi đấu hôm nay.
Of course, talking about the Nongshim
Đây là phần giới thiệu của Nongshim Red Force.
right here. I have a critical question for you
Mình
guys.
với siêu lắc, Tiny Jan, Jihanning và Sam đi.
Aurora Gaming, huge veterancy and experience in terms of tag crowns. However,
Họ thì chính là đội tuyển đầu tiên có mặt tại EWC của khu vực APAC qua vòng loại.
I think that shows that maybe they were underdogs
Khi đánh bại Zeta Division.
but they've certainly proven a point already. They had a strategy, they were playing a
đội
lot
tuyển
of
của APAC.
So they just approached the game
5 đội tuyển của APAC sẽ có mặt tại EWC năm nay là có Nongshim Red Force, Zeta Division, Glasswork, Team 1 và cuối cùng là những anh chàng Việt Nam Vitus Pro đã giành slot cuối cùng để bước vào vòng thi đấu chính thức của eSports World Cup 2026. Và Việt Nam chúng ta sẽ thi đấu trận đấu cuối cùng của ngày hôm nay.
Really cool that we get to see the players actually sit behind us and get acquainted with their setups one more time, getting ready for our first match. Again, a reminder for everyone at home who is new to this format as I was. TFT is a team of 4 this time around. No more solo play, best of 3 for every single team facing another team. You win 2, you're through, you lose 2, you're out. Cutthroat, quick games perhaps sometimes, and I want to ask you guys, for all the people who don't know at home, how do you actually get a winner if there's 4 players on each team in every match?
So we're still going through with 1 to 8 in points. So basically a key thing to keep out for, if a team has 3 people in the bot 4, they have lost. We'll obviously keep the points totaled up as we go through the series.
And if it's close,
if it's close, the tiebreaker, if everybody's positioned the same and it's all going to the end, it is whoever wins that lobby will be the tiebreaker. So often that's going to be the factor that whoever picks up the first is going to decide the matchup.
Yeah, and we've seen some really intense comebacks over the years as well. Players maybe going 7th, 8th, and it's like, okay, the rest of my team has to clutch up, go 1-2.
Yeah.
It can happen. It's difficult, but it can happen.
All right, can I get your quick predictions for our first best of 3? Again, I want to remind everyone we're going to have Nongshim versus Aurora, the underdog story versus the veterans coming through. Give me your prediction, Barry.
I'm thinking Nongshim win this 2-1. I think a lot of people are going to be going, Aurora are going to pick up a win here. I'm backing the APAC winners. I think APAC has shown everybody that it's the strongest region over the past year. And I think they're the winners out of APAC, so they've got something together. I'm backing them to pick up this surprise victory.
Trouble's ready to be like, all right, to Aurora, to Aurora. All right, let's get this over. No, it's going to be okay.
I thought I heard wrong for a second. I was like, what?
No. There you have faith. I do not have as much faith as you do in Nongshim. I think they can take one game, but my prediction is going to be Aurora. Like I said earlier, I think it will take a little bit of time on this big stage for Nongshim to get their footing.
I'm a believer more so than a little bit of blind hope maybe, but I'm backing these guys. I believe in this Nongshim.
I get it. You like a dark horse story.
Yes, absolutely.
Gambler, TFT player gambler.
Right?
Of course,
they joined the APAC region as the underdogs for Nongshim, and now they are faced with the big horse of the race that is Aurora Gaming. And as we're getting so closer to our first best of 3 of just day 1 here at EWC 2026, I'm gonna have to welcome Tamura and Crowan to take us through our game 1.
Thank you, Trouble. Yes, the wait is finally over. We are going to be heading into game any moment here. The 4v4 format that we all know and love. And Crowan, we get front row seats here.
Oh, we do. It is a pleasure to be back and casting with you, Tamura. We have so much amazing action, right? Last year, it was truly a spectacle, even on day 1, right? We saw a lot of cool surprises, a lot of cool meta comps coming out. Although last year, right, it was at the beginning of a set.
Trời ơi, cái gì đây?
End of Space Gods here. So we
xem rụng bê thôi. Em thể quấn đánh. Em mới vô địch xong mà. Mới vô địch xuống đích thì tới xong rồi cứu thầy rồi.
In a 4v4 environment, the meta shifts, and even though everyone thought that the meta was relatively solved across a couple of weeks, we've seen it change again.
Oh yeah, and that just goes to show the depth of a game like Teamfight Tactics, right? There's truly going to be no 2 games ever the same. There is so many things that can occur, can happen. And right when a meta starts to shift, people are going to adapt to that, shift themselves. It's really just a cascading effect at that point.
Yeah, and sometimes people will come up with their own strategies and bring that and completely shift the competition. We saw that in the qualifiers. Nongshim actually brought in the 1-cost reroll, which was interesting, and that kind of synergizes with itself. Usually you don't want to be contesting the same units. However, if they're in the same cost, that's really helpful for your team.
Absolutely. There's a bunch of 1 cost there in the pool, but we got to see if they can take that same strategy that they played in the qualifiers, right? Because this is going to be against another region, right? They were first in APAC, but now that they have to compete globally, not sure if it's going to be able to have the same amount of effectiveness.
Yeah, especially with Aurora being led by Hwanmei, already had that experience and doing well on the global stage there. So
một chút nữa thì trận thi đấu sẽ được bắt đầu á.
But then, do you think that's going to work against him because he's been worrying about his solo performance?
Right, I was going to say he's fresh, absolutely fresh on winning that TAC crown, but that's in a solo game mode, of course, right? 4v4 is going to be very different. The coordination between your team, even just communicating all this information with your teammates, right? Players are not used to that, playing individually.
Yeah. But one thing I would like to highlight about Hwanmei's in his gameplay is that he showed a really good macro in that Tactician's Crown. He was already playing defense when he was solo. Just because of the checkmate format, he was showing that even in a solo experience, you can still show up and look at all of the other board states and think about multiple games in advance.
Absolutely. That's on a lot of TFT players' minds, right? Especially when it gets to that late game situation, you're trying to deny, these 3-star 4 costs and things like that. 5 costs even sometimes, are you crazy you get there. But they're going to be focused more on those like 2 and 3 costs now to deny, especially with that Akali Jax, the Samiras and Orange as well for 3 costs. So we're going to have to keep in mind on who's maybe in a bad spot as we get into game here. Game number 1.
Oh dear, gì? Ta bắt đầu vào trận thi đấu. Aurora Gaming và Nongshim Redford.
and then get a bit of information before choosing what else others want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I love a little Gamba. I love Flick and Thresh, especially when I get the opportunity. But the little quirk for this game is going to be there's 2 XP
Cái mũ này tôi mua ở
into each different level. So the
Paris
thresholds
nè,
to level up
tuần
on
trước, mới tuần
3-2
trước
and
xong.
on 4-2, they're going to be just a little bit earlier this game.
Yeah, so
Thing
that
không?
might
Thing
make
không?
it a little
Bro.
bit worse if you want to play around some of those reroll lines, just because the other players are going to have that advantage. They
Yeah,
can
they're
push the
scaling
levels.
faster.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be stronger at a cheaper cost. So we'll have to see if that's going to play into it.
Stargazer Huntress.
Okay, interesting there. We can see that players might want to consider that if they're given the right options. There's a few augments.
Thì đây, khởi đầu của siêu lắc thì
Otherwise, a lot of the players
là bộ đôi hắc tinh đơn giản thôi.
pushing levels because of the
Tucat và Calyssandra.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to see what players are going to land on in the early game, right? There are a couple of those
Đây chính là 60
traits that are
second.
going to lead very into that economy. You got Primordial,
Cái HOD bị lỗi ở cái góc dưới sao nhỉ? Một mấy group BD1 kia.
Timebreaker as well is one that's a little bit harder to find.
Là có con Aurora.
You need to get that aligned to that 3 trait position.
Ghép bằng đội hình Timo ghép với Commodore và một con Poppy. Con nhảy ra một con Ilawi. Chẳng lẽ siêu thú hay chăng? Nào, 3 siêu thú sớm hay không? Chọn lõi gì đây?
Oh, here we go. You know, her grab bag, a lot of players are going to be thinking about reroll, so that's definitely going to be a consideration here for Lilo. It didn't look like the units there were too leaning in that direction, so it's going to be rerolling everything, and some interesting options here.
Yeah, he's been given Warpath if he wants it. Doesn't choose to go that route.
Didn't have a strong enough board for that.
Yeah, the birthday present picked up. If you take some of those options like Warpath where you're given the champions, you don't know what you're going to get, it can be very beneficial to pick that up early. Let your teammate know, say to your other 3 players, hey, I'm going to pick something that's got a little bit of variance. You guys just wait for me, and then we can adjust our game plan after we see what the result is.
Yeah, absolutely. With Birthday Reunion here, going to be pushing levels and getting a little bit of advantages at those breakpoints. And that synergizes really well with this game because you're able to level up faster.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just makes it so much easier to cash out and reach to your level 9 when you're given options of the 5 costs. Your TG will be coming along the way. So you're going to be very, very powerful at that point. It looks like a lot of these players are positioning themselves into be pushing those levels. So I don't think we're going to see too much reroll, as we did see the champion duplicators being skipped over quite early. We have seen those being very favored in previous sets. In the previous EWCs, we saw that the 2 and the 2 costs really dominant, right? So you want to take those guarantees, and then you can guarantee that you can hit, but that doesn't seem to be the game plan here.
Yeah, and I do also want to bring back the point to the fact that especially last year for EWC 2025 here for TEAMFIGHT Tactics,
chúng ta hãy cùng quay trở lại trận thi đấu. Ở đây thì
reroll compositions at the beginning of the set when things
anh
are
chàng
not
siêu lúc thì
solved,
đang có
that
cho
gives you
mình
very
một
clear direction to where at the end
form
of the set
đép
here,
bằng
you know how to
đấu
optimize
sĩ,
all those level 8, level 9,
phiên
you
bản
know,
và hắc tinh
fast 8,
với
fast 9,
Pantheon,
those transition points.
Tugat và Alexandra. Tam đi thì đang chơi cho mình là chuỗi thua rồi khi để một mình có mi liều. Thi đấu ở đây thì Hao thì có cho mình là ấn siêu thú. Tuy nhiên thì lại không có thêm một siêu thú nào cả. Một ấn siêu thú và một ấn tiên phong. Sẽ là một chiến thắng cho Hao ấy mà thôi. Khi gặp đồng đội của mình là 60 second. Con Diana này cũng kết hợp với con Victor thì clear rất là nhanh đội hình của 60 second. Tiếp tục là một chiến thắng đến từ Ahao. Lilo, Hunmi, Ahao và Tanizan thì đều đang có 100 máu. Tanizan đã thua rồi và 3 thành viên của Aurora thì vẫn đang giữ cho mình ở full cây máu.
Yeah, because in the attack round, players don't really want to completely grief their own game. You know, they're still in it for themselves, whereas here, it is perfectly acceptable to take someone's AVP that might be a 4.5 and just say, I'm going to go 7th this game, but I'm going to really
đều sẽ là BO3 nha.
Who decided to play around Anima.
Hey, you know that TFT saying we're like, oh, you know, 7th place not even bad here. You know, I
Nhìn
dodged
thằng
an
ấy
AVP
thua.
if it's, you know, solo game.
Nếu trong trường hợp này thua thì vẫn còn cơ hội ở nhánh dưới. 8 đội tuyển thì sẽ ra 4 đội tuyển mỗi bảng. Để Hunmi căng rồi. Để Hunmi ơi. Gặp bài đấu của Tanizan. Ra một con Zoe cùng với cái dàn tanh, có lẽ là dàn tanh
absolutely.
Nhưng mà một con Zoe 1 đối với Zoe 2, ai sẽ là người chiến thắng đây? Tấn thanh của Honmi cứng hơn nhưng mà đam của Tanizan lại là mạnh hơn. Sẽ sẽ chiến thắng cho Tanizan rồi. Một Zoe cầm cho mình ở trước Ruvo. Một Zoe 2. Huấn đã phải thua.
They've brought their A game. You can see so many econ points being hit here. 2, 3, 30 gold. Lots of these players bringing up their econ as we do get to choose between our gods and pick up an extra champion here.
Yeah, that thresh randomness and then 30 HP, you know, something special happening for the Echo there. Could be looking into the future a little bit there.
Yeah, so the Thresh bringing that randomness there. It's going to be a little bit harder to pilot, but definitely can have some high highs, some low lows.
Absolutely, as we get a chance to look at all of the augments as well on the left-hand side. But I want to take a look at the levels as well, right? The two players at the top of the leaderboards. I think there was one of them definitely who was level 5 before that little, not carousel, you keep wanting to call it carousel,
the carousel,
right? But it's not the carousel.
Pretty much the carousel. But yeah, just pushing to try and dish out as much damage as possible. As long as you know what your matchups are, which can be quite hard to work out in stage 2. We can get to stage 3 where you know that you're going to be versing 3 of the opposition teammates, and that's when you really want to aggressively push those levels, dish out more damage, because HP is the most important resource in a 4v4 environment.
Yeah, for Jihaning here, we got some interesting emblems actually. We got Arbiter and Voyager, so maybe let's do a little bit of cooking to make those useful in the later game, right? Arbiter is something that, you know, you're going to play in the early game. You don't usually play that in the later game, but let's see what they make happen with the rest of that.
Yeah, I mean, the Voyager, you know, fits in quite well to all of those flex Fast 8, Fast 9 voids. If they can utilize it late game with the LeBlanc, usually gets traded out.
Early Nunu.
That is a very, very powerful frontliner there. Doesn't have the best items to support it, but there with the Vanguard is going to be quite happy, and already has the Rage Blade. I talked about this before, how you want that DPS on the back line, so that's something to secure early. The Rage Blade, perfect.
Absolutely. You know, we think of Rage Blade, we think of units like LeBlanc, right, for cause. Fantastic with that item as well. Probably one of the premier kind of compositions. If you're not re-rolling, you're going to be going for maybe, you know, maybe a Nami, but LeBlanc is right up there too.
So I wonder when the tempo of this game is going to start to elevate, because we have so many of these players who are barely even playing a board. Level 4 is playing only 3 units, making 50 gold on 2-6. You know, all these players are going to be so rich. So when's going to be the bounce back? When are they going to actually start punishing other players utilizing?
Đi Paris về sáng hay xong.
You know what players those are? This Hwanmei
ngồi
on
đây
50
lại
gold,
cô chim luôn mà.
on Nongshim, however 57 gold, so super rich. Not too hot in the HP department, however, but that's the sacrifice, right? As we get to see if this win streak as well is preserved.
Tập trung nào anh em.
It will be
Tập trung nhá. Vitor Pro trận cuối trong ngày hôm nay nhá.
And with none of the players
Vitor
really
Pro thì trận cuối
towards
cùng
the
cơ.
reroll, it seems that, you know, losing a little
Việt
bit
Nam
of
thì chúng ta sẽ
HP
cổ
in
vũ
stage
trong
2
cuối ha.
doesn't really seem to be a problem. No one's going to
Phát
be
thì sẽ tập
punishing
trung
you
vào trận
hard
thi
in
đấu
stage 3. When you have a lot
hay.
of one-cost reroll lines, that's usually
Aurora
going
của
to
thầy
be
Huấn.
because the players that hit will be
Với
dishing
cả
a
nông
lot of
sim
damage.
Bradford.
Doesn't really seem like anyone wants to play
Tuyển
stage 2.
đứng đầu
Stage 3
vòng
here.
loại
It's gonna be stage 4
APAC.
when it's all eyes on the bounce back.
Absolutely, so I would see, you know, those players at low HP totals right now going to really be able to cap on these super
thì vẫn
strong
tiếp tục là sẽ là
endgame
chơi chuỗi thua
boards.
dài thôi.
You know, it
Là
does
chuỗi
depend
năm rồi.
on what comps everyone's actually going to go for, because hey, at some point when you're all rolling
Em
down,
nào
you
đang
can
xem
all
thì
find
cho
the same
mình
things,
xin một
all grief each other, and you
like
gotta make
cho
those really
livestream cũng
snap
như là một
judgment
follow
calls,
kênh
especially
nha.
communicating with your
Tôi
team, like, oh, I
sẽ
found this, let me go
full
this
stream
route.
đủ
Oh, I found this, let me go this other
các
route.
tựa game
And the players being
không phải
given the
game
extra
mà
option
rất nhiều
of
tựa game của
handles there,
eSports
very
năm nay.
beneficial if you get a 5 loss streak
Thì
here,
giải đấu thi đấu năm nay thì đã trải qua được 2 tuần rồi. Lần đầu tôi sẽ cũng đã có stream Dota và Valorant. Thứ hai tôi đi xem trực tiếp nên là không có stream được. Thứ ba thì tiếp tục là hành trình với cả TEAMFIGHT Tactics cũng như là PUBG. Cổ vũ cho các đội tuyển Việt Nam. Với môn TEAMFIGHT Tactics thì sẽ là Vitor Pro. Và với PUBG thì chúng ta sẽ có N1 Legion, Gamtia và Vixiot. Ba đội tuyển Việt Nam sẽ thi đấu vào tối nay.
So powerful, in fact, that they had to reduce the extra econ you got from 2 to 3 now. But if you're lucky enough to find 3 time breaker and you're already on a loss streak, and that's a great way to get extra resources.
Absolutely, because I want to talk about a Timebreaker unit in specific. It has perished on this board here, but the Melio, I think it was Soju on Vitality. I was watching a game, you know, in the TAC crowd, and it was like, hey, thanks to this random player on ladder, I know that Melio 2 can carry me to a top 4, even from just like a really weird position. I didn't even have to go for a 4-cost there, and that's a Timebreaker unit.
Yeah, we've seen that with Zoe as well. It's always these, you know, strange backliner 2-costs who somehow manage to have the power of a 4-cost in the right setup, right?
Oh yeah. As we take a look at some silver augments here, going to be re-rolled, all of those for AGAL.
Yep,
Get that Ascension.
Ascension synergizing really well with the front line and the Rage Blade. We know Rage Blade will stack up. Your back line will have a lot of DPS. And then by the time the partial Ascension kicks in, that's going to be very, very powerful as long as your front line survives.
Absolutely. And we have another Rage Blade there. It seems to be a pretty popular item in this game, right? Like you were saying, not so much in the re-roll position.
Talking about Timebreaker, what's better than 3 Timebreaker is 3 Timebreaker plus 3 Primordial.
You can't make any more gold than that. 11 rerolls stacked up, 18 out of 34 XP as well for a 60-second. Oh, when 60-second presses the go button, it's going to be a treat to watch.
60-second has put himself in an incredible position to have a comeback. He said, you know what, I can't play Anima, people are just going to grief me. So how can I get the best chance of winning the game for my team? This is definitely one of them.
Yeah, able to kill a few units here as well, right?
Able to kill
the Mordekai's there. Unfortunately, a strong board over there, but especially if you're playing those econ traits, able to, you know, take out as many units as possible, you're going to be setting yourself up for such a good position.
Yeah, and on top of that, if we just kind of look across the board, you can see there the Aurora manages to pick up an early Leona.
There we go. All right, and this is something that some Vanguard players will lean towards, is going for like a 3-star Leona and then looking to push levels after that, just have that be your primary tank.
Especially if that's your primary tank, because you still have access to the champions like the Blitzcrank, the Nunu. They don't really need to be the primary, but you just give them a couple of off items. Nunu really likes anything that gives mana regen, just to get a couple of casts off.
Vow, right? Just one item, right?
That's all you need. And as long as he gets a really powerful cast, then that's all you need. I want to take a step back and look at the macro here. If we look at Aurora Gaming, have multiple players in the top 2, so they're very, very safe. We already got a look at 60-second and Sam D spot. 60-second spot, so many rerolls, so much econ. Sam, a little bit more confused, had access to the spatula. It looked like a position which you could convert, but it's going to be harder. So Aurora already looking really strong right now.
Right, but look at the win streaks and loss streaks though. AGAL with Aurora Gaming on a 7-win streak, and Sam D at 7 losses, 8 losses now, so has not won a single round this entire game so far. As we get another choice, there's going to be the Scuttle Party, and once again, Thresh, given that RNG, a random boon.
Yeah, if you want the randomness, you can take that and then just hope that you get something that synergizes well with your current setup.
4 costs there.
4 costs are coming in. If you do go for something like the Scuttle Puddle, that definitely makes sense given the portal that we're in. You can delay. Some of these players are already clearly delaying until stage 4. They're not doing anything with their board.
Nami 2 at 3-5 for Sam D. There we go. You say he needs direction. And he has found it.
Oh, I may have given Aurora the cast first there, because I did say that Sam D's spot looked a lot harder to convert. Had access to the spatula, you know, had a little bit of direction, wasn't too sure where he was going to go. This is perfect.
Yeah, it was a shop of all 4 costs too. Maybe it was that Thresh randomness there. But we do have a reroller, of course. This Dark Star, Cho'Gath, and a Lissandra here for us. So look from Nongshim, and we were talking about they leaned on those 1-cost rerolls very, very hard, and they're wanting to stick to what they know.
Yeah, wanting to stick to what they know. Cho'Gath, a unit who can scale up and be quite powerful if he can get online in stage 3. 3-5, not too late. Yeah, but with only the gargoyles and just not enough damage here, he needs to start winning a lot of rounds here.
Maybe Lissandra could do this.
Can maybe win a round, but really needs to be having a much more dominant performance. Is he going to be able
Ai
to...
sẽ chiến thắng đây?
No,
Vẫn là chiến thắng cho AGAL. Trời, tiếc chưa? Xì lắc. Một tí thôi mà Victor. Ai chà. 97 máu vẫn đang cháy. Level 7, win streak 9 rồi.
Increasing in champion's attack speed for that other offering there.
Yep, very, very beneficial, especially when you synergize it with something like the Rage Blade. You can see there in the top left corner. Yeah, just going to have to wait and hold, because obviously we don't want that on any of our units currently on our board. But once we get access to the LeBlanc, or even like a Vex, that could be very, very beneficial.
Oh, absolutely. I'm curious, you know, if anyone's going to maybe think about going fast 9, it could be AHAL. Vex can fit into those boards, right? Graves as well, maybe, you know, even in such a tight spot. But definitely Vex there with that Rage Blade you're going to be thinking about.
Yep, so all of a sudden, Nongting Red Force starting to look a little bit stronger with Samdi having the potential to bounce back. That being said, only 39 HP. When you have a player on your team who quote-unquote high rolls and is in a really good spot, even if he's able to go all the way to the top of the standings, 40 HP is not that many lives to give up, right? So even if AHAL isn't going to win this game, he has a lot of HP to give to his team.
Oh,
Tiếp tục lại là chiến thắng cho AHAL. Tiếp đà là quá là cứng cáp, mặc dù là dàn đam chỉ là 1 sao. Không 1 sao Dynam 1 sao, mà tuy nhiên thì neo đà đánh quá trâu cho dàn đam phía sau xả đam.
Going to be seeing players go level 8 next round and roll to try to find their boards.
Yeah, especially you can see there Lilo's managed to pick up extra econ from his first augment there with the Epoch, so he's going to be having lots of rerolls to work with. It's going to be super cheap for him to push levels here, and we've seen in previous games, you know, they might have to wait until the 4-2, but the fact that everyone's going to be going crazy on 4-1, I don't even know who to watch.
Yeah, and reminder, you know, Lilo, this is Lilo's first EWC with this squad, right? Such a championed player, right? Winner in Gizmos and
as primary carry.
Có thay đa số hay không?
Tech into pretty much
Có cho mình là 5 hành tinh.
Does get the tension there as well to start stacking up a little bit of extra resources as well. A decent roll down, but honestly not the best considering what we've already seen players like Sam D can do.
Right, and there's already, you know, 3 Namis out of the pool, and Nami with that space group was something that Lilu was looking for. But now looking here over on the side of Jihaneng, it's that LeBlanc with the Rage Blade, 3 Arbiter, 5 Shepherd on this board.
Yep, and 60 second still has lots to work with, but it looks like he's going to be taking some losses and is going to be playing towards the fast 9 there with the birthday present.
Oh yeah, Morgana too, right, for Jihaneng. Morgana too is a fantastic frontliner, especially for this point in the game. You throw a few items on her, she'll just keep on healing up, give that durability to the team as we get our final augment choice in here. And ooh, the divine items here. Soraka's Miracle is a fantastic item. I love that one a lot, personally.
Yeah, especially has access to the backline items already crafted, so could look for one more at the front line there.
Soraka's Miracle.
This is a very, very nice LeBlanc board, but sitting on LeBlanc pair, that's going to be the final unit to hit. If we don't hit that, board's going to be a lot weaker. 60 seconds, made it to level 9 on 4-2.
That is crazy, right? But we talk about the economy of the players like 60 Second, who is sacrificing HP in the early game, just game in general with that 2 XP reduction on leveling up. We're going to be able to level quicker. Isn't hitting too much great there, it looks like, though.
No, he's only 23 HP, so he needs to win this round. I think he even left Primordial in because he couldn't really find the rest of the upgrades. So if he takes one more loss here in Stage 4, then he's going to be heading into Stage 5 with definitely 1 life, which is very, very dangerous, especially when some of the other players, he's going to eventually have to verse his teammate, and they can't sack forever.
LeBlanc, 2 on the other side there for AHAL. There is a Ribbon who gets into the back line, but she does get taken out, right? Not that many items on her, but still that Nami was enough, but that's okay. I was like, hey, I can take a couple losses. I've won every single round almost in this game until now.
And 60 Second did manage to win that, and I think I actually saw there was Misfortune was holding onto those items. Now, when you go fast 9, Misfortune is not really the unit that you'd be expecting to be the primary definitely not, but you can use it to stabilize, hold on to a 2-star 3 cost, and then hopefully eventually start to pick up more of those upgrades. You really cannot afford to lose any rounds, so we can't gamble on a 1-star 5 cost here.
Oh, and gonna be gambling on a Zone 2 here for Tiny not to be a good enough carry to get through Stage 4. I'm not so convinced of that personally. A lot of these AP carry 4 costs already out of the pool, right? And ooh, out of nowhere for 60 Second.
You can see does have the Vex on the board. Those items, you know, might be a
với cả siêu
bit
lắc
better on her.
có
This is going to have to do. Yeah, this is going to have to do for now.
Thành ra và chú gắt 3
Decent board setup. The Graves 2 as well, just no items. So
Shen 2.
đang bắn.
Yeah, the Shen 2 decent. I rolled some pretty nice
Ba
TG
thì vẫn
items
sang
there for
tanh
Shen,
được, nhưng mà
so
tuy
decided
nhiên thì
not to
nhìn
move
tin
it
nhiều
over
thôi
towards the
rồi.
Graves. And the board is definitely
Sẽ
going
là
to be
chiến thắng
stable
cho
for
60
now.
second thôi.
Yeah,
Win
this
some
is looking good.
rounds. 60 Second though, right? Bottom of the standings in HP, but it's
Càng
going
có
to
rất
be
nhiều
at
con
least near
5
the
tiền 2
middle by the
sao.
time we get to the end of Stage 4.
Shen
AHAL
với
again is
và
taking a
Zin.
loss there, but has a lot of HP to work with as that Soraka's Miracle. Morgana is
Ui,
so
nhìn
hard
Momo.
to take out. It's going to be trying her best, but it is
Ôi,
going
hai
to
đam
be a round loss for Jihan.
chiến thắng về cho Tiny.
Stabilizes, right? That Zoe too is good enough.
The Morgana just doesn't want to die, but once you get to the end of the round,
Correct,
they're
but
ramping
oh.
up damage there. She will eventually get taken down.
Ooh, the 5-cost shop for these fast 9 players.
Yeah, it could be very beneficial, especially the ones who haven't hit. We already saw that 60-second. Other than the Vex was pretty much online. Had the Shen 2, already had the Jin 2 as a temporary holder, as well as the Graves 2. Don't really need too much more than that. So we did see that some of the other players were willing to go with that Thresh gamble. They were willing to take whatever they want because they wanted the extra resources, and are probably just going to stick with that. You can see more onto Tiny Giant's board, who is making use of that 2 cost. We mentioned this in the pre-show, just how the two costs can carry you quite far.
Absolutely. Tiny Giant going to be doing exactly that. Gets those Psionic mods as well in there. 60-second, look at the board again. Blitzcrank in the shop, but this is pretty much what the board's going to look like there. Really needs to upgrade that Vex, obviously upgrade that Tom Kench as well. But oh, this is 5 losses in a row here for Siluk.
Yeah, so it was all eyes before on Samdu, who was in a really poor position, but then he bounced back after hitting that Nami 2. Meanwhile, Siluk, unfortunately, has never really been able to convert this Cho'Gath 3 into a nice board. Cho'Gath needs to be winning early, winning hard, start to scale up, but we know that this one cost strategy that these guys
Mặc dù Cho'Gath 2 nhưng mà có vẻ là Tanh không được trâu cho lắm. Ồ, không, nhìn con lít là chiến thắng sẽ dành cho Jihan thôi, và siêu lắc thì có máu tử rồi, còn cho mình 6 máu với level 7 ạ. Roll, anh ta tiếp tục roll nhưng mà 4 hắc tinh thì mình nghĩ là không đủ. Mặc dù là con Cho'Gath 3 tanh cứng cộng lên một con list hay 3 sao, nhưng thì tình của anh ta vẫn vừa thiếu đam vừa thiếu tanh. Kẹp 2 các ma vào, có cái xa mà vẫn chưa đủ 6 tinh, không có ấn cũng không có gì. Hin Đè hao, còn Leona 3 Đam sẽ là các ma với cả LeBlanc. Sẽ là chiến thắng cho AGAL thôi. Chắc chắn là như vậy. Và siêu lắc đã phải làm xuống top 8 cho anh ta. Thế thì Lilo đã chiến thắng được Tiny Gian với bộ bài hành tinh kết hợp với cái Revenge của mình.
Going into stage 5, if they're versing one another, they can change up their board just a little bit to make sure that they're not dealing a lethal blow.
Yeah, and this actually could make a big difference. The players who have very little gold.
Một cái trượng hư vô để cho đồ Sona, một mảnh kiếm, một mảnh cung, một mảnh găng. Người ta sẽ ghép gì đây? Việc khổng lồ cho Sona. Đổi đồ rồi. Sẽ đổi đồ cho LB cầm diệt.
Managed to get the Kench 2 online.
And Vex too.
Exactly.
Một đội hình mà full 5 tiền 2 sao từ 60 second với Vex 2 3 đồ Pit 2 rồi Vet 2 Sen 2 và Fiora 2. Một đội hình Exodia quá là mạnh từ 60 second. Anh chà. Rồi đã đổi Thùy Diệt sẽ cho Gray thôi.
Yeah, and it's the perfect combination because the only low cost units that you need to hold on to, we saw there was the Akali and the Aatrox. They don't need to be 2-star. They're just there on towards the side because their trait is so good. However, it's really about hitting those 5 costs. And as we start to move on, if you can make it all the way to getting extra resources, extra items is what you need, because having no items on those 2-star 5 costs means that they're not going to be performing as well.
Right, they just don't do much at all. But what's doing a lot here is Sam D's board into G Hunting, who is stuck on LeBlanc 1. The Sona and Morgana tried to do a ton of heavy lifting, and it was like kind of close there at the end. Maybe it's just that LeBlanc 2 difference.
Yeah, that LeBlanc 2 difference for sure. When you have multiple players across different teams fighting for that same LeBlanc unit, once one team hits that, the other player is going to be stuck on a pair, and everyone on the opposing team is just going to start holding on to it. Once a player gets a 2-star, 4 cost, the rest of the team can just start griefing themselves because it's not going to do anything against them, and that's really, really crucial.
Oh, absolutely. We see a couple of items on the bench here for Lilu, maybe facing a teammate in the next round. Maybe we'll swap in this Aurelian Soul, put the items on there. But taking a look at this Morgana, right? The little subpar items with the Sterix in there. But hey, I mean, it gives you a little bit of a shield, so it's something.
Does have access to shredding there at the front, and has the Shojin. Not as nice as the synergy as the Nash's with the crit there. Is going to be going up against his own teammate. I think potentially might just be sacking here, recognizing that given that the way that the games are going up against, he's going to have to go out in 7th, and 60 seconds in a great spot to try and win this game, so that's okay. You've already had someone on Nanjing go out in 8th. If Lilu takes a clean 7th here, that's perfectly fine. The game plan's still in play.
Absolutely, right? Sometimes you got to take that sacrifice for your teammates. That's what this 4v4 format is all about, recognizing those situations. Players are going to have practiced this kind of strategies, making these tough decisions a lot already, as we get to the point where a lot of players are going to start to fall very rapidly.
Yeah, are going to be getting knocked out. So we see a look at Tiny Giant, who is going to be holding on for dear life. Again, I guess we see another unit who doesn't have that extra mana gen there on towards the Karma. Will be getting a little bit of base mana gen, but won't be casting as frequently. Does have access to the Voyager synergy, nice. So it's a nice board for 5-3, but we've seen a lot stronger so far.
Yeah, I'm looking at it's like there's a lack of damage here. Definitely, like you're talking about the lack of mana generation. There's a Sona with just a Challenger emblem and a Void Staff there. It's going to be hard pressed to win this fight against Jihaning there, who has found the LeBlanc 2 at this point.
Yeah, and this is a similar situation, just the reverse. Instead of Aurora, it's going to be Nanjing, where you're going up against your own teammates, and you kind of have to recognize, you know, one of us is not going to be stronger. But it doesn't look like there's been any intentional sacrifice. I think they've just kind of looked at the situation and gone, who is stronger? Who's actually going to have a better chance at making it through?
This is going to be a win here, it looks like. Yes, the Karma able to hold out against Jihaning.
Very, very scary.
Thôi chiến thắng cho em chắc chắn là dành cho ấy rồi. Em nốt tàn cuộc thôi. Thắng rất là dễ dàng cho Aurora, như dự đoán của mình.
11 HP for Tiny Giant.
Aurora thôi.
Jihaning 4 HP still alive. If they can both now win their next fights, we could see Nongshim Red Force be put in a pretty solidified winning position, however, but there's still that big raid boss of Ahau at the top.
It's an uphill battle. The raid boss there, Ahau, up at the battle for sure. He has 59 HP. That's a lot to work with here, and 60 seconds in a position that looks like he can win out. So it's really going to be up to Hwanmei if his teammate can give him extra lives.
Yep, absolutely. Because of how the format works, right? If Aurora Gaming go 1-2, they have won the lobby, right? So let's see here. We have Hwanmei on the right side.
We've got Ahau. It looks like we're going to have the LeBlanc board that showed dominance before. It's LeBlanc v LeBlanc on the right there.
Yeah. Oh, it's
LeBlanc walks up.
They're both boards. Wow, LeBlanc walks up and gets taken out. Oh, this is actually really, really close. Blitzcrank going to be alive there at the end, finishing out the fight. A couple eliminations.
Yep, looks like that is going to be Hwanmei going out as well. We do have 2 players in the top 2, so technically they can still hold on. It's looking dire there for the Nanjing, as they've already had someone go out in 8th, so 8th and 6th. So they're going to have to clutch it up here, and it's looking tough with 60 seconds on a 4 win streak.
Absolutely, it is. Ahau on a 3-win streak, right? Sam D on a 2-loss streak, found that early Nami, but now has found some really good items for, I mean, not really good items, but some items to put on the Blitzcrank. They're going to be doing a lot of work there. Space Groove on the Morgana. She's going to be very, very strong. Can Sam D hold on this round?
I don't even know if they have enough HP, because they're both sitting there on 1 life at 11 HP. So Sam D here with the Nami is going to be stunned for quite some time. He's going to be going up against the LeBlanc, and the LeBlanc's not touched. Has plenty of HP to work with. Looks like it's going to be one more cast. It comes out, and Sam D...
Not enough there in that fight. Will be going out. Just briefly dodges the damage by scouting on their board. Nongshim out again here in 4th, sorry, for Sam D.
Yep, and that should be it for Aurora. It's managed to clutch out with potentially, well, it does have 2 top 3 finishes, and guaranteeing that they didn't have the 8th will be enough to close it out. great play across the board.
Absolutely, Aurora Gaming showing why they are this star-studded roster, showing just how strong they can be. And, you know, I don't want to say, you know, too much about Nongshim Red Force and how they are having a slow start here, because that's maybe a little bit of expected, right? It's their first time on this big stage, but still they had a lot of really good moments, I think, in this game. So I'm pretty sure they could make this into a game 3.
Yeah, Sandy
sang bán 2 thoi rồi có rồng luôn mà Talizan có rồng. Có một con rồng luôn, bán hack được con rồng long. Á Hào có rất là nhiều máu. 9 máu đến từ Á Hào. Anh ta là có win check rất là dài. Đối đầu với cả Á Hào, Talizan. Con rồng này có làm nên được cơm cháo gì hay không? Rồng vẫn đang khạc. Mà LB thì đang focus thẳng con rồng rồi. Hòa lên.
What this board has become, right? It was playing around that Vanguard flex, you know, Karma board, still playing Vanguards, but now the backline is a
Ôi dàn tanh của
doing a ton of damage, but not as much it looks like is needed into AHAL there as Aurora Gaming, of course.
Chiến thắng dành cho AHAL. Chắc chắn chiến thắng sẽ là dành cho Aurora Gaming thôi. Một game đấu có vẻ là khá là dễ dàng dành cho Aurora đã thể được bản lĩnh. Cười rồi, thầy Huấn cười rồi. Ok, gỡ không gỡ được mà. Anh nóng xìm, anh mì cay. Mà họ vẫn còn cơ hội trong game đấu sau, khi đây là một trận đấu thi đấu BO3 vẫn còn cơ hội, và trong trường hợp mà nếu có thua tiếp thì vẫn sẽ còn nhánh thua để làm lại. Nên là cứ bình tĩnh hơn, đây mới chỉ là ngày thi đấu đầu tiên thôi, còn rất là nhiều cơ hội cho họ. Xin được chúc mừng Aurora khi họ đã có chiến thắng đầu tay. Trận đấu thi đấu mở màn đối đầu với cái đồng Shi, một đối thủ khá mạnh đến từ khu vực APAC hay Hàn Quốc vậy. Và chúng ta sẽ cùng chờ trận đấu thi đấu tiếp theo, màn thi đấu thứ 2 giữa Aurora với cả Longshim. Thì tính anh em, kiếm thi ăn tiếp đã wow đòi quá. Về nhà đi sáng nay bay xong về nhà, giờ tôi làm ngủ đến tận bây giờ luôn mà. May vẫn đặt báo thức không sợ ngủ quên nữa. Rồi về nhà là lăn ra hồi sức ngay. Ngồi xem tiếp. Sáng nay mới cập với nhập cảnh Việt Nam, nhưng mà vui. Tuần đi Paris vừa rồi vui, dù là không được như ý nguyện cho lắm khi ngang với Team One. Để tôi yêu quả khả quan cho lắm. Có một hành trình nhiều kỷ niệm. Em nghỉ tí nha anh em, để chờ cho game đấu theo.
3-star, 5-cost, or like going fast 9s is usually the name of the game. We only saw one player going fast 9.
Yeah, it looked like everyone wanted to at least go fast 8. That's how it kind of positioned from the start.
Which has been so uncharacteristic for the entire TFT set, right?
Exactly, and that can be the downfall, because we saw the LeBlancs were so heavily contested.
Yeah.
In previous patches, we might have seen that, you know, players really need the 2-star frontline to come online, but with access to so many different options, it was really the backliners they couldn't manage to 2-star, and that was the downfall of Nongshim Red Force.
Yeah, we saw a lot of the AP flex was played where there's a different carries you can play, but as we see here, as we got into 3-5, we already had players that were hitting incredible spikes. We ended up having a Nami 2 at this point in the game, which was just crazy to see.
Yeah, and crazy to see, because if that was a solo queue game, you'd be thinking that's it, that's all you really need to do. But then Nongshim kind of realized that across the board, Aurora had lots of HP to work with. You see that the LeBlancs were really struggling to come online as you enter in 4-2. The Nami 2 was hit early, so it was kind of leaned away from, going, okay, well, you know, they've already got that.
And at 4-2, a key point as well, that was when our birthday reunion went up. So we had a Shen 2 being hit, Fiora 2, and once you have a player that is your clear win-out contender, the rest of the lobby, as you said, stuck on level 8, just trying to play for every placement they can.
But at the end of the day, in a 4v4 format, that's all you need, right? The more players you got in the top 4, the more points you get overall and you win out. However, I have to commend right here. I feel like Okay, I don't know if I want to comment somebody who hits the Nami 2 on 3-5 roll down, right? But particularly, we had our lower HP earner 62nd hit the birthday present, and I feel like he manipulated the champion so well, hitting the Jin 2 first, dumping the items there before he finds the Vex.
And only had, crucially, I think it was 23 HP on stage 4, which means that if he takes a loss, it's really, really scary heading into stage 5, being on 1 life, but managed to use the Misfortune, who's a 3 cost, to stabilize his board. Then, as you said, pivoted to the Jin, and then eventually came home towards the Vex, and with those items, that's who you want.
And on the flip side, we see the likes of AHAL just had so much HP to work with that once you get to that stage, you're able to sacrifice for your teammates who are potentially 1 or 2 lives. If you have somebody that's so far ahead in tempo, just gives you extra room to work with, as we see. He did get this elimination there. And for Aurora, a big, big win for a star-studded roster. So coming in and putting down a bit of a marker early on.
Yep, breaking the curse of the Giants getting knocked out early. If all of the lights are on them, if all the expectations on them, they still managed to show up.
But we're just 1 game in, so maybe not breaking the case just yet. There's plenty of time.
He's hoping.
He's a believer.
Yeah, he's a believer.
believer.
When I asked for your prediction, you did say 2-1.
Exactly.
To
Yeah.
Nongshim. So you wanted them to have like the wow factor, the comeback, the reverse sweep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna keep you guys busy while our players get back on stage for like game number 2. So do not go anywhere.
Play is in our DNA. Whenever we let it out, it becomes our superpower. Now imagine an entire city being built to supercharge it. Kadir City, powered by play.
We were there. For every click, every clutch, every respawn. We were there for the years of grind, and we're here. Now, the proud founding partner of EWC, powering the biggest event in gaming, shoulder to shoulder with the world's best, making history. Greatness deserves a stage. Lenovo Legion, reach your impossible.
Welcome back to Teamfight Tactics at the Esports World Cup 2026. I'm Crowan back here with Tamura for this fantastic series between Nongshim Red Force and Aurora Gaming, where Aurora Gaming are now up 1-0.
Yeah, they're up 1-0. Incredible start to the series. This is what we expected. This is what everyone was thinking, predicting, because Aurora Gaming have such a strong roster. And we saw that across the board, that all of these players were able to hold their own position. We saw at the front, AGAL HP lead. Then we saw 62nd at the bottom with the comeback story. Players like Hwanmi sitting in the middle as the middleman to kind of guide the team. Now what I'm curious to see is, can they switch those roles around if they're given a different game state?
Absolutely, because I do think in scrims and practice, some players are going to be more comfortable filling some roles than others. So I think that's a fantastic point to bring up if they can all adapt, because you kind of need to, right? TFT is such a game of variance where you're going to be in such different positions. But we did, however, see a lot of good stuff out of Nongshim Red Force as well. They did lean on that one cost reroll yet again. That did not do very well, however, so maybe they need to switch up their game plan.
Yeah, so Silek, they're playing around the Dark Stars there, recognizing that if he plays around the Cho'Gath and gets those items on towards the Lysandra, can be quite powerful. Unfortunately, the items didn't quite go his way, and he wasn't able to swing the tempo in his favor. And when you're playing a one-cost reroll and you roll all the way down to 10 gold on 3-2 and you're in a bad state, everyone's going to be so powerful on stage 4.
Yeah. Especially if you don't hit, everyone else, right, was pushing levels, was scaling. So there's going to be so many more strong people, like what happened in that lobby. Hwanmi, like you were talking about, able to play that kind of, that team captain, that middleman, right, and guide all of the others. I think there's just a little bit, at least, I don't want to speak too soon, but like a caliber of player difference, right? I think we were talking about that with all the accolades that Aurora Gaming have bringing to the table. There are still those small, mechanical choices, those small strategic choices that really shine through, even in a 4v4 format.
Yeah, definitely. And we saw that players like Sam D weren't afraid to take the loss streak. Playing around the spatula, it looked a little bit dicey, it was a bit scary, but still managed to come out with a top 4 performance. So the players on Nongshim Red Force are still willing to play that risky play if they need to. However, just across the board, they didn't have that structure that Aurora Gaming had. So it's going to be on all eyes on them to see if they can bounce back.
All right, heading into game 2 of Nongshim versus Aurora, and we get Thresh yet again as one of our gods, but Evelyn as the other one. Players are going to be tempted to sacrifice their HP.
Yeah, tempted indeed, and you can see that Talon's going to give us some extra augment rerolls, so going to have a little bit more flexibility. Now, we talked about how players like AGAL were at the top, they had all the extra HP to work with. Now, usually these are also going to be working with Evelyn because they're going to be getting extra resources, but sacrificing a little bit of extra HP.
Now, AGAL here has an early Samira and Maokai, but Samira can lead into some very, very good early direction with more augment rerolls. If we see that gold tier 2 tanky, we could see that come through here.
Yep, and we are going to have the boar for the Stargazer constellation, so getting that extra gold on the win is going to be able to push their tempo even further. They can then start to pick up the Evelyn and push levels even more aggressively. If you're pushing levels aggressively, when you know you've got the right matchup and you use your removers correctly, you can dish out even more tactician damage.
Absolutely, here as we get just a tier as well. So if we're going that Samira direction, not having the items really to slam yet, however, tier could still go into some good tank items for that Orange Spirit Visage, of course, as well. And we have the Arbiter every 4 seconds, have a 14% chance to gain a Leona at the end of combat. So the Arbiter being a Econ Arbiter here, or Econ Opener rather, and 3 Arbiter online with the find of that Diana.
Yeah, very, very crucial there that Tiny Giants managed to pick that up. We saw previously getting the extra copies of Leona, manages to stabilize there on towards the Leona 3. That's very, very crucial because if you haven't hit the rest of your board yet, you can start to play a little bit of defense, get a little bit of extra econ in the background. Looks like across the board we're going to be seeing a lot of 3 costs early.
And it is going to be that gold tier of augment. We get some quick rolls there into a salvage bin. Heavy as the crown is very, very intense here.
It's interesting. I love to watch it. I hate to play it. It's scary.
It's very scary. Can you make this work in a 4v4 format as well? It's going to be maybe a little bit better than usual.
It's terrifying. One thing to note about it is that you can actually manipulate it. It's one of those items that you can pop off quite easily.
Yep.
And then you can actually use that to force a loss streak if you need to. So it can be beneficial if you're playing around the anima line.
It's rerolled though.
Yeah. It's gone.
Yeah, considering it though for a long while was Tiny Giant, but I think weighing that it's not going to be worth it at the end of the day.
Yep.
Salvage bin picked up. I
Definitely
believe.
very safe going with the salvage bin. So much flexibility. This is really beneficial in case you end up contesting one of your teammates. Do get the Blighting Jewel.
Yeah, Blighted Jewel on the Victor as well. You know, there are some Victor reroll comps that are out there, but it could also just be a great unit to get you through that early to mid game and go level 8 as well. Back to maybe that Nami line that Sam D did play. Works really well with Blighted Jewel.
Especially with the Nami and the Karmas that we saw before, which didn't have that extra mana gen. Getting the Blighting Jewel and then synergizing it with more mana can be quite beneficial. I feel like we don't have anything as egregious as something like the MOUZ we've had in previous sets. So just a nice pickup, but definitely not the nuts. As you can see there, Hwanmi unfortunately just one off of making that 30 gold interest point. As we do see in Akali, we didn't see this last game.
That's true. And Akali and a Jax going to be on board here for Ji Han-ing. Triforce as well from that portable forge. That's a decent item for the Akali. People really just kind of go for the guard breaker, Deathblade, Gunblade a lot of the time, but Triforce is serviceable.
Yeah, I mean, Triforce just kind of fits on all of your carries, right? It'll never be the absolute nuts, the best. However, it's just a very, very solid pickup. And now that we are no longer playing on the Sona region, it just makes a lot more sense to make sure that you have at least one designated player on towards that reroll line. We saw the Cho'Gath fail, but we know that Akali is definitely a lot stronger and considered higher on the meta right now.
Absolutely. Get a couple more emblems here. Now, this is an augment that players are really leaning towards. There is a lot of good high rolls you can pick up there into getting those verticals online. What kind of verticals are you going to be looking for, do you think, Tamura?
Well, we already saw before with the Space Groove. It's just the one that everyone wants to go for. It just synergizes so well. The Nami there playing around the Ornn as the front line. When you can play a vertical where a 2-star 3 cost effectively is a 4 cost, that allows you to stabilize so much faster, and then you can use your extra gold to punish the other players and play defense.
Oh, absolutely. And Hwanmi, a man of many talents, one of the goats of TFT, is saying, hey, full open strategy is still very much on the table here. Gonna be, of course, losing instantly against Liru.
And I'm so glad that Hwanmi's taken this route where he's the calculated loss and he is going to be looking to be the win-out player, because we actually didn't get to see much of him last game, and that's because he was the middleman. He wasn't the guy at the top, he wasn't the one at the bottom. He was just a control player who was looking to get a 4th or a 5th placement, and he did exactly that. Whereas this game, it's going to be all eyes on Hwanmi when he does eventually do his stage 4 roll down.
Absolutely. Playing from that position of behind, he's going to be very, very comfortable with that. AGAL once again finding a good opener, playing from ahead there. 3 wins between AGAL, Sam D, and Siluk. So a couple of Nongshim players towards the top as we get our choices here between Thresh and Evelynn. Get a 4 cost.
Tempting,
lose 4 HP though.
Yeah, you lose 4 HP, not the end of the world. You know, sometimes it does come down to that, but getting the extra 4 cost, especially early, can be really, really beneficial if you want to get a little bit of direction. Hwanmi, we saw already, didn't really know where he was going. He's got the calculated loss. He still has a lot of creative freedom there, so maybe he gets something that's beneficial. Although it could work against him if there's anyone else who tries to snap his streak. Although, that being said, if no one else has something as determinant as calculated loss, more likely to hold on to units.
Definitely. Really curious as to if anyone did pick that Evelynn choice there, and what 4 costs they did get, because like you said, it gives a ton of direction. Maybe that's the high roll that you need to be like, all right, hey team, this is my route now. I know this is my route, so you all can play around it. And it's better that that happens, right? To get your game plan underway early for the rest of your team.
Yeah, not only beneficial for you, but for the rest of your teammate is so, so crucial. We're starting to see a lot of these gargoyles being slammed and players playing around that AP flex line. We know that they like to play around the Zoe, quite powerful as a 2 cost, and then eventually can move to things like the Calm and the LeBlanc, and hopefully stabilize. If these boards can't eventually make it to level 9, we usually expect them to finish anywhere from 3 to 6th.
Absolutely, and Ji Han-ing does have a pair of Akalis and pair of Jaxes there. Jax had that gargoyle. It's gonna be a little too weak, however, to take down Tiny Giant. And I think Gargoyle is just kind of the default, you know, we're going to slam this item whenever we get the chance. It's one of the preferred slams as well for any frontline tank. JG is rather flexible as well still for any AP lines.
Yeah, and if you look at players like Hwanmi, who aren't going to be holding on to too many of their units, have plenty of money, are able to do it.
64 gold.
64 gold and rerolls. Incredible position. they aren't able to play defense. So until Hwanmi builds himself a board, isn't going to be able to hold on to Akali's, just to guarantee that loss streak. However, I do believe heading into stage 3, he doesn't have to worry about it too much. He's not playing Anima. Anima's where players will go the extra mile to try and grief, but he looks to be in a relatively neutral loss position.
Yeah, absolutely. Silic trying to maintain this 5 streak as well as AGAL, and they're not going to run into each other. It's going to be Silic versus Sam D, and it looks like Silic is pretty strong here with that Bastion,
the Shepherd there as well.
Leona, Shepherd in early as well.
So the Vanguard, very, very powerful there with the Shepherd just because it synergizes so well there with the Alawi. The Bastion's a little bit awkward, however, you can just take in a Shen late game. So just having 2 Bastion on your board is never really a bad thing. And having access to 2 traits that you can utilize relatively early, very, very beneficial. And even just
2 Orns there, actually, as well. You can make use of the mid-game.
Yeah, exactly. And Orn's a great powerhouse unit because of his ability, that extra item that you don't have access to early game. And even the stats. In previous sets, some of these emblems were really for just unlocking the verticals. However, now they give stats as well.
Absolutely. Hey, look at us here. We got a little Anima there.
Yeah, we got Anima action, taking in with the Primordian as well. It's kind of similar to before we saw the Primordian as well as the Timebreaker there. So synergizing multiple econs, because if you're going to be losing, you're going to be losing hard anyway. You might as well try and get as many resources as you can.
Hwanmi is 50 gold level 6 on neutrals with all those rerolls. Maybe had to roll a little bit to find a strong enough board to beat the neutrals, right? That's going to be one of the challenges of full opening, however. But I think Hwanmi is going to be one of the best players to play that full open, to be that full flexible player, having the most experience in those high pressure situations. I think he'll be able to stabilize just fine.
And so because Lilo's actually on Hwanmi's team, he's not going to be going for the full grief Anima there anyway, because he will eventually have to verse his teammate. But however, is recognizing that if I play a relatively strong Primordial board, I'll get a little bit of extra econ from the units there. And then, you know, if my board's not going to be that strong, I might as well try and get a small cash out here. Might just be a little bit of extra resources. It's going to be a little bit awkward though if 62nd doesn't manage to get a HP lead, because you are going to have 2 Aurora players who are quite low in the HP.
Absolutely. Even a little bit of a tech there in that fight to trap the Alawi in the corner, just to make sure your board's a little bit weaker. It is such a good micro, adjustment, but hey, sometimes it does matter.
Yeah. And having access to the early Shepherd and the Teemo 2-star, very, very strong unit. Great holder all of LeBlanc's items there. You can see the Rage Blade and any extra AP that you can throw on him. So Silic in a great position here, now sitting on a 6 win streak, as we do get a Prismatic 3-2 option.
Hey, here we go. Prismatics, hype, trifecta. Going to be for the 3 costs, but we don't have any 3 costs on the board, so it's rolled away immediately. I think, unless you're going to AP route, right, with the Space Groove, Wand Overflow seems to be a fantastic pick up there, and Ornn 2 is found as well for Silic. We were saying a couple Ornns in the shop just a few rounds ago. Finds the Ornn 2 now. It's such a fantastic tank, the best tank probably, as a 3 cost in stage 3.
So Hwanmi in the lose streak was looking to be in a good position. Now 62nd, as I just mentioned, needed to get a HP lead, so he's managed to pick up some random emblems as well. Hwanmi still playing quite a weak position, and it looks like he's not going to be even trying to field a board. Is sitting on a 50 out of 100 there for the cash out, and Lilu as well, relatively weak. But all of these players are going to have to bounce back and not dish out horrible losses.
Yeah, right, and more horrible losses will come through if players did take combat augments for Prismatic tier, because they're going to be really, really strong, pressuring the bottom of the lobby even faster, right? Killing one or two more units every round is going to lead that HP gap to be even more massive.
Yeah, so it looked like Lilu actually picked up the tiniest Titan there to give him some extra HP. Now, this might be him conceding that he is not the win-out player. You have 2 players, him and Hwanmi, both in Aurora, who are looking to play that lost streak route. If Lilu recognizes that he's not going to be the one to win, instead he's going to have to sacrifice a little bit of his HP when he does eventually verse Hwanmi and they're both 1 or 2 lives. However, maybe just that extra HP will allow him to stay alive longer.
I was taking a look at, we saw Jihaning for a moment there, was on 20 gold just that last round, so rolled pretty deep to try to stabilize with that Akali Jax line. I don't think he'd found that many copies. That is going to spell trouble in stage 3.
Yeah, stage 3 is really where you need to bounce back, and if some of these players have managed to pick up a strong 3-2 Prismatic augment and you're not even able to get your Akali board online.
Yeah, it's still tier 1 Akali right there. Jax 2, right? But Akali 1 after rolling down to 20? It's rough.
That's not what you want to see. Going up against a Gargoyle with a massive shield there, the Akali doesn't really have the damage multipliers to deal with it. I take that back as the Jax is able to stay alive with the double Gargoyle. So
Jax is a beast.
As long as you're strong enough to win the rounds, you don't need to be rolling deep in a solo queue experience. However, on the 4v4 stage, not even having the 2-star means that it's a lot easier for your opponents to grief you.
Absolutely, as we get 12 gold as the Evelyn option, but can't buy champions for 2 rounds. Gonna be fine for some players if they're wanting to take their anima cash outs, right? Even more, it's just be a lot more gold, a lot more resources to work with once you do hit that cash out.
Especially with players like Hwanmi who are going to be playing around the calculated loss. Once they already have their anima online, it doesn't really matter. They don't need to start buying their champions until they're level 8 anyway. You know, maybe they might have gotten a lucky champion on level 7.
Right.
That's really one unit. And you think about how much gold and how many rerolls he has, he's going to be able to get them later.
Oh, absolutely. You're probably going to get more value out of finding, getting that 12 gold to roll a bunch and find the particular forecast that you do want. Maybe not just that one lucky one that's okay. As we do see Lilu as well, low HP 49, having that anima in still as well, with a gunblade being the trajection there for items. Rather flexible.
Seems like the players still really favor the Thresh anyway. They're willing to go for that extra resources there with a little bit more variance. These players, they're TFT players. They love variance. This is their game. And so they know how to play around it, and that's going to be good for them. I do want to keep an eye out on the Lilu Hwanmi dynamic because it's going to get really dicey as they start to get low on HP here.
Oh, it absolutely is, right? We saw some Nongshim players who are dropping low, but they're all, middle or top of the pack here. Really, really good adjustment to be saving HP. But we do have to get to that point, right? Start of stage 4, where it's all going to change up, and all these players in the bottom, like Hwanmi, like Lilu, are going to be really, really strong.
Yeah. You can see there, Hwanmi, I think it might have even taken a cash out, isn't looking to get anything too crazy, does recognize that on 29 HP, we'll have to just, pick up a few small cash outs here. And it's actually going to be doing a pivot here. He has 13 goals, 13 rolls here.
Yeah. Not a bad time to do so, right? Rolling before everybody else means you get all of those forecasts in your shop. Not many are going to be taken yet. A pair of Nunus, a Nami 2 as well. Even an early Graves could be a consideration, but having the Nami 2 is good enough direction.
Yeah, and just doesn't have the items now. This can be a little bit awkward when you have to activate the Arbiter. Just takes a little bit more time.
Right.
And actually has the LeBlanc there on the front line, I think, recognizing that he's picked up the Nami 2.
On the correct side, though.
Yeah, exactly. and this is looking good. And still only Akali 1.
It's still a Akali 1 for Jihaning, but it's done really good, actually. His top of the lobby in HP, 5 win streak with Akali 1. I think it just goes to show the strength of that composition with Akali Jax, win streaking all the way through stage 3 as well. But that Nami can get the job done. Jax is still alive, and yes, Jihaning with Akali 1 takes down Hwanmi after the transition round.
That's a really bad beat there for Hwanmi. Did have a guaranteed 2 lives. Will have 2 in stage 4, but the fact that Akali 1 is able to win so many rounds in stage 3 goes to show why these players have recognized the shift in the meta. We didn't see it too much previously. However, players have gone, okay, if you get the right portal and you get the early Akali, something with the Triforce, then definitely you should be angling it because a 1-star is doing this.
Absolutely. Fast 8 from Lilu as well, doing a little bit of rolling during this round. Crazy getting to level 8 and rolling before the stage 3 neutrals. It's like something you rarely ever see, but with the calculated loss full open from Hwanmi, it makes sense. Lilu, however, going to be not finding too much yet, but these are where the rolls are going to start to come through.
Yeah. We'll have to keep an eye on him later as we do get a position POV of a couple of the different roll downs. We have on the left side there already managing to find the Leona 3-star, which came pretty much for free there with the Arbiter, and then getting an Orntu. That's one of those really cheap combinations, which is very similar to hitting a 2-star forecast as your front line. However, you don't even have to roll for it.
Absolutely. A couple of these players that we saw, that might have rolled on 4-1, gone to level 8, are actually going to greed out a little bit, maybe wanting to make that perfect interval level at 4-2 instead, not feeling as pressured as you would be if the lobby had a little bit higher tempo.
And Hwanmi had to stabilize there on the early Nami too, but it's good to see for Aurora's perspective that it didn't grief his teammate 62nd, who is also stabilizing there on towards the Nami. We are finally going to be going up against an Akali 2, so will we see if the front line is going to be able to deal with it. But the double Gargoyles there on towards the Jax is really, really hard to penetrate, and it doesn't look like any of these level 8 boards are able to deal with it.
No, even Nami too. I mean, it is a little close there. Akali, is just one hit away from death there, as well as the Jax. But we see the strength and why everyone's talking about that composition after Tac Crown being like, hey, there's something that y'all didn't figure out yet, and it's gonna be something that y'all should figure out.
And it'll be interesting to see if there's going to be any answer here from Aurora, because you can play the denial game going for the 3 stars, but if a 2-cost 2-star is wrecking this much havoc against your entire board, you're going to have to rethink your strategy, because you can't even play denial on a 2-star.
No, it's a little rough when the tier 2s do that much work, but we see the roll downs here for a couple of players. Silic on the left, Aha on the right does find Corki too, going that AD route. Only a Rammus 1 as the front line though is not fantastic. Going to want to get that best friends value online for the Corki as well here.
Might have run out of time there, unfortunate.
It was close.
Definitely a comp that we've seen throughout the set, quite strong. The Riven, the Corki, and the Rammus fallen out of favor a little bit after a couple of patches have made their way through. But when you take something like the spreading roots and you kind of have to play around what you hit, then sometimes you're forced to go back to some of those older comps.
It was Juanmei too that had the Nami too, right? I'm not crazy, and now it's LeBlanc too.
Yeah.
It's did a little polymorph there.
Maybe a bit of communication there, because I think 60-second really needed to play around the Nami. So once Juanmei had all those extra rerolls and a bit of time to do it during neutrals, he could say, look, I know you're about to roll. Give me a second. I'll sell it.
Yep.
And then it's all yours.
And that's going to be, just that small decision making that actually ends up making a big difference, right? 60-second did have that Nami too, as Juanmei was able to pivot on over and had the items for it as well. I think that's very, very key. The emblems, that's something we really have to look at, especially you mentioned earlier, when a player gets that Space Groove emblem online, it's strong.
Yep, and Sam D on the other side wasn't given that hand-holding there from Juanmei, so maybe there was a little bit of timing there where Sam was rolling for he really needs to be playing around this Nami, but Juanmei said, no, wait for Sam D to roll. I'll sell it when you're ready to roll.
Yeah.
And then 60-second was easily able to hit.
Absolutely. Sam D on 0 gold, at least upgraded a little bit of the front line with the Tom Kench too. Double gargoyles and playing against Silic, who is also on a 1-star 4-cost carry. This Leona is not able to do it, however.
Good matchup though, going up against your teammate, the one with the higher HP. Want to just give a little bit from the rich to the poor. Is that Akali via Akali?
Yep, same exact items as well. Oh, Lilu taking the loss there.
Yep.
5 Nova Akali, yep. No Jax frontline though, it's the Morgana frontline.
Yeah, not great to see that, as he did decide to push levels instead of playing the standard reroll line. We'll see if there's anything that Lilu can do to bounce back. He took the extra HP there from the tiniest Titan, so hopefully he was able to, be able to give a little bit more lives or stay alive for a little bit longer. But unfortunately, it looks like he is going to be on 1 life regardless.
Right.
So very, very bad position, because now he's playing down a Prismatic Augment.
Yeah, definitely. You see 6 Shepherd for Silic with that Shepherd emblem. See, I didn't see if there was a Sona in there yet or not, but
yeah, just
nope. So able to still make it to that 7 threshold here.
Yeah,
maybe 71 gold, gonna level to 9 perhaps.
Exactly. Talked about the verticals, where you really wanted to be playing around the Space Groove. However, the Shepherd's not one that we commonly see. It can be very powerful, and in previous sets, we've seen a lot of these really strong verticals where you're just waiting for that 5 cost. You need that 5 cost to bring it online. Sona in this set in general before 7 Shepherd hasn't really had that. She's a nice unit to tech in, but it hasn't felt win or lose.
Yeah, some comps were like, okay, 5 Shepherd's a bit of a power spike, but not super impactful, as this is going to be an important round for Lilu here. Rolling to find that Morgana 2 and Akali 2 at level 8, not going for that traditional reroll style of play, but the 5 Nova is just deleting the backline before Akali even needs to get there.
And before that graphic change, you could actually see there was the 4 Nansheng Red Force, the red on the top there, and Aurora in the dump on the bottom side there. So Juanmei on 9 HP. Lilu eventually will stack up enough HP to have 2 lives and be able to sacrifice 1 for Juanmei. But we've seen on the other side, Tiny Giant there, 7 win streak heading into 4-6.
That is going to be very scary for Aurora Gaming. You would love to see them on a win streak right now, at least a couple of them, like Juanmei and like Lilu, who were sacking a lot of HP, but they're just going win-loss, and eventually you're just going to bleed out there.
Yeah. For sure. We'll have to see. Oh, and it looks like Lilo is going to be going up against Hwanmi now. So 19 HP on 4-6 still technically could be 2 lives. Hwanmi needs to win this, but only barely. It's looking decent. Lilu's still carrying there the Akali on towards the side. So
good CC there.
But Hwanmi does not want to lose this. It's looking like it's going to be a pretty close fight. I think only maybe 4 units alive there for Hwanmi. So still 1 extra life there for Lilu.
Yep, gonna be not too bad of a loss, like you're saying, 2 lives for Lilu. And they're not gonna face each other for a while. So
that's good.
If they both win out, we could still see potentially Nongshim Red Force in a little bit of danger here, right? As Tiny Giant and Jihaning are in a really good spot, 55 HP and 64. But for Sam D and Silic, they're in a little danger territory.
Yeah, a little bit of danger territory, but eventually Tiny will be able to sacrifice some of that HP lead that he's built up, so that's going to be very beneficial. If they've saved their removers up until that point, they only really need to have a couple and they can make a big swing. Hwanmi and Lilu get a little bit of breathing room. However, Silic, he's not on 1 life. Sam D and Silic both around 30 HP. So if they play their cards right, it's going to be a while before they actually are in the danger zone.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what we need to look at for this next Hwanmi fight is what the Nunu is able to CC, right? That's going to be so crucial if the LeBlanc is given enough time to stack up with that Rage Blade, Sona as well to get all that anti-heal spreading around.
Yeah, it's still a really nice board there, though. So as long as the positioning is correct. Lilu, on the other hand, it's still a little bit awkward. It's a nice board, but to be 1 life down a Prismatic feels bad.
To be on Akali 2 at stage 5, it's very scary, especially when you go up against multiple 4-cost 2-stars. That Bastion Riven with Bloodthirster and Sterix on there, opposite side of the Akali. But this frontline Morgana is going to go down here soon.
Yeah, and so Aurora going up against each other multiple times. You see Lilu and Hwanmi had to verse, and now he's versing AGAL. So we'll have a lot of... And he is gone.
Yep,
was gonna say that it would be a little bit of a different dynamic, as in, now it takes some breathing room, but we saw this in the previous game that Aurora were willing to let people go, and now this means that it's a little bit easier for them to pilot, except it sucks having someone go out in 8th.
It absolutely does. Aurora Gaming on the back foot here in game 2. Maybe Nongshim Red Force shook the jitters off after the first one. And I don't want to say it too early, but it could be a little reverse sweep in the making here. We'll see.
Definitely on the cards, and it seems like this is more of their wheelhouse, playing around these sorts of lines. We saw previously maybe they weren't as comfortable pushing levels and being forced out of their reroll lines that they know and love. You can see they're looking a lot stronger and much better positions here. So we do see Hwanmi on his last life there, going up against Sam. Sam sitting on 15 HP. If it's a bad beat, could get knocked out as well. Hwanmi's board is going to absolutely destroy Sam. And is Sam going to go out? He is in 7th.
There we go. That is the strength of a legend like Hwanmi there, able to make the board so strong and hold on until that point as well. Sending Nongshim out in 7th is so crucial to hang in there.
So crucial, but again, you look at the graphics.
Yeah,
now that Sam D is out, you do have 3 and 3, a clean split. Nongshim Red Force looking absolutely dominant with the HP advantage here. I don't know how it's going to go here. They are, Aurora is going to have to recognize that they're probably going to have 2 players in towards the bot 4. So it's really going to come down to, do you think Hwanmi's board is actually strong enough to cap out and go first? Because they're probably going to need that tiebreaker.
Yeah, looking at it right now, I mean, it's strong, but it does not look like a first place cap out kind of board. It looks like, hey, maybe I can go 5th, 4th, maybe 3rd if I'm super lucky. But having to win every single round is tough.
Especially when going up against some of these other stronger boards which were able to relax and cruise their way to level 9. Because Hwanmi had to be, on edge the entire time.
Good CC from Nunu there, but these frontliners are dropping very rapidly. Just the carries left. LeBlanc from Hwanmi is able to take it out. But that's such a close round, though.
Such a close round, and Silic was actually on LeBlanc 1 there. So Hwanmi managed to hit the LeBlanc 2, so playing a little bit of denial in that sense. Every single time the Morgana cast, though, just giving a little bit more front line there. So the LeBlanc's looking very powerful, as we can still see some players still stuck on their 1-stars. So we're heading into 5-5 now, and these players have been playing defense and are denying forecasts.
Yeah, absolutely. We see Silic there, of course, has found the Sona. So 7 Shepherd online. We got the big summon unit there.
Does have to sell one, is going to be waiting until the very last minute to sell the Rammus, just to make sure that he's not giving Aurora Gaming any chance to be able to pick up an extra 2-star there, as we do get a POV of 2 matchups.
Wow, Jihaning's positioning there. Interesting, all in the corner on the left-hand side versus Scylla. Could be Nongshim on Nongshim. But on the right-hand side, it is Hwanmei as well, right? Seeing if he can still hang on versus Tiny Giant. That Morgana, look on the right-hand side of the screen. It's going to be going down here soon. Get another cast off. It can.
Yep.
The Nunu CC as well. LeBlanc does go down, and so does Hwanmei.
And Hwanmei is out. It was looking so close there, but that was incredible positioning there.
And there it is. There's 3 members of Aurora Gaming out in the bottom 4. So Nongshim.
And the reverse sweep is still on the cards. I want to really highlight their incredible positioning there against Hwanmei with the Leona, just shutting down on the right side there. So if you've got your carry stuck on someone with a D-Claw, your LeBlanc's just not doing as much damage. You're not able to swing the tempo of the fight, knocking out some of those units. Nunu did his best to get one final cast, but it just really wasn't enough. So we said before that Aurora put themselves in positions across the entirety of the last game that looked better. It looked to be the opposite here.
It really did. I mean, they took more high variance positions, a lot riskier positions, and weren't able to convert on them. It was very, very close, right, with Lilu and Hwanmei, but they were contesting each other for a little bit, though, between 2 players trying to go into that Nami direction. Hwanmei had a lot to do with a little bit of time. I was actually saying, hey, if there's anyone who can do it, Hwanmei can. Nearly did, but Nongshim starting off, or I guess continuing strong here. I guess in the game 2, reverse sweep is going to be in the cards.
Yep, and now this is terrifying for both sides. Nongshim going to be able to bring a little bit of momentum to game 3 in the series versus the likes of Aurora Gaming, who started out strong. Still almost smiles, I guess, on some of the face. You know, they're going to be able to talk over their strategy, but they don't have much time to really reconvene. They're going to bounce back into this 3rd game soon.
Oh, they absolutely do. And we saw, you know, maybe Nongshim saying, hey, 1-cost reroll, let's just forget about that one at this point, right? We're not going to do that at all. We're going to play these, you know, level 4 compositions, or sorry, 4 cost positions on level 8, as we saw a little bit of that Akali Jax playstyle as well from Jihaning. It was so powerful, able to make it with 3 of the Nongshim players in that top 4. That was kind of a stomp, honestly, a little bit.
And we are back. Your host traveling here with Barry, joining us with Crowan. Crowan, you got to witness maybe some sort of the glimpse of genius that Barry brought out with his prediction.
Hey, like I said, we need to, you know, take some time for Nongshim to get their footing, you know, get comfortable. It might have only taken 1 game, Barry. I don't know. Maybe you were seeing into the future here.
There's something about this team for sure. They've had such a good run getting here. That first game playing on stage, maybe a little bit of jitters. They had more difficult spots. This time round, it was actually Aurora that were up against it. They had 2 players lose streaking, just no HP to work with. And Nongshim were able to capitalize on that. They just had so much more comfort in this game.
And of course, we're going to get to watch some of those highlights of our game. We had Jihaning here with the Akali reroll and the Jax, which went really, really well. I mean, being a Nami too when you're playing Akali is a huge feat.
This was a devastating round for Hwanmei as well. He needed to win this round. He went all in. He spent so much gold. He was hoping that moment he was able to put together a win, and not able to do so. And same here for Lilu, another player that was just up against it the whole time, never really having a lot of HP to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very high-tempo game, you know. At the end, there was players like Hwanmei, like Lilu, that were just so low, and there was a crucial round, like you said, Hwanmei wasn't able to win. If he was, though, could have absolutely finished in the top 4.
And I feel like this was the most characteristic playstyle that we saw from Hwanmei. He did that a lot on Tac Ground as well. He plays for 8th or 1st. They needed to win right here to make this a 2-0. Wasn't quite the case. Hwanmei had an incredible roll down on 3-6 even before even the neutrals to try and stabilize the board. That's why Barry also mentioned how brutal that loss was.
Yeah, and when you compare it to the likes of Tiny Giant, who had such a long win streak.
Tiny huge Giant.
Regular Giant, he's just he's shoulder to shoulder with the greats of the game right now. But just had so much HP to work with. I do think we need to touch on the fact that it was Thresh and Evelyn. So if you have 2 players lose streaking, you have less bailout potential. You can't guarantee extra HP. So having 2 players playing so low, Crowan, difficult to then turn it around.
Absolutely. Say perhaps it was like a Soraka, right?
Yeah.
Potentially it was God. We could have said a whole different game. But that's what Space God's all about, right? You got to play to what the options are. Tiny Giant, of course, you know, having all of that 2-star Sona, 2-star Aurelion Soul in the back, playing with such high HP lead. Aurora Gaming just weren't able to hold on in time.
Tiny Giant was also holding a random Ramos 2 on the bench as well. You know what? If worst goes to worst, you can actually start rolling down on that level 9. Had the excess gold, maybe you hit a Ramos 3, can absolutely win the game.
Yeah, there were some players looking for Rammus pretty actively that game too, so it could have been a little bit of a denial just because you're so rich in such a dominant spot, so good heads up thinking.
Yeah, and that's what the HP advantage gives you. You can then start playing full denial. The two players that are up against it for Aurora, the advantage in the past would have been maybe Carousel, you get to deny units if you're low HP.
Yep.
That's no longer even a thing, so Fanmei, unfortunately, having that loss streak early, same with Lily, not able to turn things around.
Well, Barry, you're 1 win away from being a genius on your first prediction. 1-1 between Nongshim and Aurora Gaming. Check this out, and we'll be back for a very juicy Game 3 in our first series.
Play is in our DNA. Whenever we let it out, it becomes our superpower. Now imagine an entire city being built to supercharge it. Kadir City, powered by play.
This ain't no regular thing. I came for the ring, you know what I mean. You see my name in the lights, better get right, I'm champion.
It is 1-1 with Nongshim Red Force versus Aurora Gaming here at the Esports World Cup 2026 for Teamfight Tactics. Crowan here with Tamura as we get into this final game of the series. Nongshim showed that they are not to be taken lightly, Tamura. Do you think they can close it out here with the reverse sweep?
They definitely have the potential. I think seeing their game plan when playing around some of those lower cost units, they know how to utilize the Jax so well. We saw Akali 1 throughout Stage 3 absolutely dominating the field, and some of these players like Hwanmei were able to go push fast level 8, and they had so much gold to work with, but it just didn't seem like that any of their boards came online early enough.
No, and I think now that players, I mean, they probably realized before, but there's evidence now to back that Akali 1 can win out in Stage 3, and Akali 2 can still be finding these wins versus 4 costs like LeBlanc 2, like Nami 2, even with upgraded front lines. We might be seeing more of that potential, not just in the reroll route.
Yeah, and it didn't even really seem like it was a reroll problem. This was a problem long before we... it was a problem before we even got Akali 2, yet alone Akali 3, right? So when you get certain items like the double gargoyles, or you get the right items on towards the Akali, the extra AD, maybe some of these players will be more likely to kind of hard force that, take those extra item augments to get them there, the Pandoras, or if they take the lost streak route, then they can get those extra component anvils at the neutrals.
Absolutely. Do love that, being able to get some options there, kind of show up your variants to come back in the game. But hey, Barry might have been a prophet, however, with the 2-1. Nongshim, again, looking so good. And it's going to be that star-studded roster, you know, this third in the qualifiers from China, or Aurora Gaming. But just with their star power doesn't mean you're going to be playing that well as a team. It is a totally different format where Nongshim have been prepping for this 4v4 format for way long, and Aurora Gaming, right, they were focused a lot on the TAC crown.
Yeah, and it looked like across the board Aurora Gaming in the second game actually all had decent solo positions, but we did see, you know, they were fighting a little bit where multiple of them wanted to play around the fast 8, and not to Hwami's fault, but had to pick up, you know, the extra copies of the Nami to try and stabilize, and even that wasn't enough. And then you're denying your partners like 62nd who also wants to do the same. So having that spread across the board is very crucial here in 4v4.
Absolutely. Nongshim in good spirits there, looking like laughing, having a good time. They don't really feel the pressure at all, saying, hey, we took 1 game, we can take 2. We do have evidence, of course, from the qualifiers that Nongshim took out Virtus Pro, the runners-up from last year, right? That is a big deal, and took out Zeta Division as well. So why not Aurora Gaming to add on to that warpath that they're on?
Oh, the warpath indeed. If you can win the entirety of the APAC qualifiers, you've already taken out some great teams to get there. Some of them still made it through on lower seeds or through the global qualifiers as well. But yes, they've already proven that they have the ability to do that. And so now it's going to come down to this final game in this series to see if they can put themselves, you know, on the front foot, have a little bit of breathing room, because even if Aurora is knocked out here, they still have that extra life to work with. However, that's not a great feeling to end your first series.
No, definitely not. You know, there will be no eliminations today, but starting off on the back foot, you're going to be feeling a lot of pressure there. Taking the keycap off the keyboard
taking
and fidgeting with it.
It reminds me of the poker players, you know, just playing with their chips.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a nice little way to stay calm, as he doesn't want to get a stress ball or something else.
Yeah. Just a little stim toy, you know, just have your hands preoccupied. Absolutely love to see that, as we see the key. Nongshim Red Force, they want to keep it alive and crush the dreams of Aurora Gaming here soon, of course. I just love the fact, like, the symbolism of the key crushing, right? It's just so cool.
Absolutely. Being able to crush your opponents and then take that trophy with them, it just, you know, builds so much more excitement here for the players. It's not just about getting points on the board. It's not just about, you know, securing their own legacy. It's the entire club working towards that and working with teammates, because that's the best part about 4v4.
Yeah, there's so many games here at the Esports World Cup. TFT, of course, is one that we love, but it's part of a bigger picture here and what this all represents. We were taking a look at the start of the show of those clubs who are nearing the top, right? There was Virtus Pro, there's AGAL, who are pretty good in the club standings right now, but a win in TFT would make them feel real good.
Yeah, especially when you have teams like Virtus Pro, who are the runner-ups from the previous EWC, coming back with the same roster. Some of these players, if they play together in the same roster, definitely going to be coming back with a lot more communication. We've seen that in previous EWCs, and even in some of the ones today, that because these new rosters are formed, sometimes the communication seems to be lacking a little bit. We'll see in some of these series where there'll be a little bit of a contest. These are all challenger players. These are great players. They're obviously not going to be contesting the same reroll lines, but just a couple of overlaps on some of the units, and those small things make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely, and I love that you mentioned that as well for, you know, the players who've been on the same rosters for a while. There's not that many teams who even have like the majority of the same roster. A lot of organizations, right, who have picked up a completely new roster, right? Fnatic comes to mind on that one. New year, new roster for them. For Aurora Gaming, right, they've been here, some players who were on Twisted Minds before, but now they're coming all together. Some of these superstars from CN for Aurora Gaming. as we get into game number 3. No more Thresh, it's Varus and Evelyn here.
Varus and Evelyn. So Varus going to be supporting some of those reroll lines, which we mentioned with the Akali can be quite powerful. Evelyn was picked up a little bit for some of the more greedy players. So we are going to be getting... Oh, and
okay.
Looks like we're going to be getting a champion duplicator to support that. So are there going to be any other rerolls? I'm predicting already at least 2 Akali Jax players. But given this region, we might even see more different reroll lines.
I'm really curious, actually, if Nongshim are going to go back to their 1-cost rerolls, because there is that Varus option where you get like a bunch of tiny duplicators as well. That is really a little bit later on in the game, but that means that you can push levels while still being a few units off of your 3-star 1-cost carries, getting towards that endgame capped up board, and then finishing the 3 stars afterwards.
Exactly, and pushing levels can definitely be done with a couple of the 1-costs. You can see there on the board the Leona. We've already seen multiple Leona 3 stars
in each game.
Yeah, because it's just so easy and free to get if you are able to get the Arbiter, which gives you the extra copies. Then there's also other options. For example, we've seen Veigar Printer in previous series. So there's just different ways that you can utilize the reroll without actually technically playing reroll.
Absolutely, and we're gonna see here who is able to start off with those reroll lines. Silic as well, 4 Cho'Gaths already, and 3 Cho'Gaths for Tiny Giant. Primordian as well, though, just needs a Rek'Sai to get that 3 Primordian online, which would also get Brawler, and would be a good start for Tiny Giant.
Yep, very solid start there. The items don't necessarily support the Cho'Gath as much. We did see previously that it didn't really work out for Silic when all he had was the Gargoyles and the slightly suboptimal Lissandra items. So I do believe that the Cho'Gath needs to come online early with multiple items to start really stacking up and becoming a powerhouse, because if you don't get online early, then you're going to get outcapped in stage 4 quite quickly.
Absolutely, and there are a couple of different 1-cost reroll lines for Cho'Gath. There's the Cho'Gath Ezreal variant, which maybe not as strong, but we've seen that come up over the course of the set as we get gold augments here for our 2-1 option. Nothing looking too crazy here, too appealing.
Yeah, just a couple of extra items available there if you want to go for something like the Prize Fighter. Even if you're not 5-streaking, can be quite powerful. We already saw the loot Singularity picked up before when we wanted to hard force the Cho'Gath and Lissandra line. Seen in previous patches, it was very favorable to go with this because the Dark Star was just super powerful to push levels as fast as possible. However, in this galaxy, maybe we'll see a little bit more favoritism towards the 1-costs.
Hey, there we go. It is going to be that loot Singularity. So extra Lissandra, extra Cho'Gath there, going to be, I believe, contesting.
Has the chain available? Unfortunately, the other 2 items being a bow and a sword, not really what you want to see when you're trying to get this Cho'Gath online. So you're going to have to see how he's able to play around that. You do have some AD carries in the Darkstar line, and eventually get towards your Kai'Sa and then your Jhin. However, that's quite far away, so maybe just try and get that Cho'Gath online early, and then we can utilize some of those AD items.
Yeah, absolutely. See Juan Minute here with the Marauder emblem as well, getting a little bit of value out of that even early with the Bel'Veth. Briar, a lot of units on the bench there.
Seeing some of the Marauders push levels in previous patches, the Master Yi being quite favored there. Playing around the Legion of 3, usually want to stick to some of the 3 costs there. However, sometimes you can just utilize that for it's just a gold augment. Doesn't force you into anything, but it can give you a nice little bit of direction. And that's one of the gold augments that you definitely want to be picking up early into the planning phase, and then let your teammate know about it.
Absolutely, and we see the Thresh's Lantern there for AGAL, right? Going to not be one that players will prioritize super often for that artifact emblem, but going to be able to get a little value of it, pulling units from the bench.
I think it's just a nice way to get an extra unit onto the board when you're playing around this AP flex line. So we've seen with these sorts of front line is you don't have that unkillable Jax 3. You don't have something that it's like, okay, well, when this unit dies, my front line is gone. You have the Shepherd, you have multiple front lines, you can have the Morgana, you can tech in the Vanguards, you can have the Nunu casting, a Blitzcrank even on your final cap board. And so being able to just throw in those extra sort of legendaries around that is quite a nice synergy, and you can never really go wrong with this. Yes, it's not going to be the thing that you go, okay, I've won the game, I hit the nuts combination, but you're never really upset about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. Jihaning versus AGAL here. We see the power of that Thresh's Lantern, right? Getting in one more body, because Jihaning had 2 of their carries in the back line there, 2-starred between Caitlyn and TF, even had a gun.
Model.
Of course, versus AGAL here.
Hào có cho mình một đội hình khá khỏe với hai con tanh 2 sao Neona và Nasus. Có lồng đèn. Là con Zoe đã có cho mình trợ Rubo ở đây thì Huân Mi đã hoàn thành form tập tuần cổ đấu sĩ, hai toán cướp. Toán cướp thì cho Brian. Form khởi đầu khá là khỏe từ Huân Mi. Gặp cho mình nó là Hào. Chiến thắng sẽ là dành cho Hào thôi. Thì anh ta có lồng đèn và kéo thêm được con rắc vào sân đấu. Anh thì khá là cứng, con Leona kỳ châu. Còn Mi sẽ phải nhận cho mình ở trận thua này. Ở đây thì siêu lắc gặp Janning. Chiến thắng là dành cho siêu lắc. Sẽ có vị thần Varus và Evelyn. Cho các tuyển thủ sẽ là vị thần nào đây?
He never really seems shaky, never really seems phased about going down low HP. He's willing to play that win out strategy if his team requires it, and so that's really good to see. But I also like the fact that in the first game of this series that he played the middleman perfectly, so we know that he has range. He doesn't necessarily have to play towards that tack crown, I want to win the game strategy. But, you know, if the Primordians present themselves to him, then he can definitely go on his back foot.
Okay, a couple of Ross there, interestingly enough, but
có cho mình gần 2 siêu lắc. Và tạm thời thì kèm Neona vào để xem thần phán có gì khỏe không. Bán cho gác hay chăng không? Câu trả lời là không. Chỉ là đổi thêm một con EWC vào thôi.
Yeah, flexible indeed. Does have that rod, so usually will lean towards the AP just a little bit. Nice, there we go.
Ghép 2 đồ cho Lissandra, một Soji và một Grid phép. Gặp cho mình là bài đấu của Tien Anh.
But as I mentioned before, when you're playing around something like the Shepherd, you can get away with having some of these.
Kéo thêm con Ragat vào, chiến thắng sẽ là cho siêu lắc.
And even if Silic isn't able to continue his win streak due to lack of backline upgrades, still going to be in a very favorable position. As I say that, the Thresher's Lantern there, so much frontline.
Yep, pulled in the Gragas, and Gragas like, hey, I'm another beefy frontliner that you cannot get through right now. 4 win streak for Silic.
Yeah, and was that an extra Leona printed as well, if I'm not mistaken there? So
Quân Mi đã có cho mình là một con Mi pháo tuần 2. Sao ở tại level 4. Ủa, anh ta có Nico à? Chắc là cho Varus có Nico. Có cho mình đó chính là con MF2. Vậy thì xem đi. Thì vẫn tiếp tục là đánh lại chuỗi thua 4 rồi. Tiếp tục sẽ là thua tiếp mà thôi. Gặp cho mình bài đấu của 60 Second và 60 Second. Thôi lại chiến thắng xem đi rồi. Ta là phá chuỗi của xem đi. Sẽ trình là dừng lại ở chuỗi thua 4 mà thôi.
And looks like Silic is going to be on a 4 win streak, but going up against Lilo with a 2-star.
Đòn đến từ 60 Second.
Very unfortunate there for Silic, was in a great position, but Lilo
thi đấu rất quan trọng, thiếu bản lề. Quyết định xem ai sẽ là người đi tiếp trên hành thắng. Ở đây thì Tiny Gian thì đang có trong, anh ta vẫn chưa được ghép đồ, chỉ là mỗi con thì cầm một mảnh lẻ mà thôi. Cái Second thì có một cái form cô pháp đấu sĩ thời không. Và cũng chưa là ghép đồ luôn. Anh ta vẫn đang chơi cho thua và chơi lại chuỗi thứ 5, một pha đòn rất là trí từ 60 Second. Đó, nhảy ra mình hay pha đòn sẽ là bán đi mà thôi. Cho mình là có Milio vào để có 3 thời không.
That's how you need to win a tag crown. If you want to win a tag crown, you need to win the checkmate format, and that's exactly the type of augment that you need. And Aurora has recognized that perfectly, as they have other other players who can utilize their stable positioning. However, we need to have at least one player who can fight for first.
Yeah, there's a lot to work with on the bench here for Tiny Giant. Still level 4 as well on 3-1, you know, players having that 1 cost reroll potential. A Quicksilver Slam for Sam D. That Belveth needs to be the carry, but that's some misfortune to IE marauding their side there for Hwanmi.
Oh my goodness, Hwanmi playing around the Legion of Threes. That's exactly what you need. The 3 cost gets benefited from the augment, and to hit it on 3-1 as a 2-star, this is something that's effectively a 4 cost as you push levels and you utilize your augments. So Hwanmi's position now, super stable, 89 HP. He can push levels, he can have lots of extra HP to work with, and then you have other players like 60 Second who need to bounce back. But it's kind of the reverse. You can see all the blue there at the top there with the Aurora.
Bunch of champions here. Got a Master Yi, got a Karma for the 4 cost. Just using it for econ, really. I think that's a fantastic usage of, hey, you don't have anything that's really good with my comp. I just want money so I can roll and win out for the rest of stage 2 is really important for the tempo of these 2 cost reroll compositions.
Yeah, and so we talked about how Akali would definitely likely be played when on a region such as this. Is going to be getting, proccing that extra buried treasure, is going to be getting a little bit of extra resources, but is sticking towards the Belveth there. What do you think about this sort of line where it's not the same Jax variant?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely weaker. People are thinking that the Akali Jax variant is very optimized, as the Akali with that 5 Nova is able to just take down the whole board. Jax lives forever. It's just so strong. This is a lot more, you know, feast or famine, do or die. It's going to be a lot quicker fights. You have to position super well on what side you go on, where your units can wrap. You know, that Akali is able to survive without that front line of Jax is going to be a lot harder to pull off.
Well, I'm interested to see because Sam D, although he had the Primordians, was probably given a lot of extra copies of the Belveth, so decided to lean into it. However, because he had access to the buried treasures, he could have just not played any units, could have maximized his econ, just got those extra couple of units for gold, and then sold them and done a full pivot on 3-2, as we've seen in a lot of 2 cost variants. If you know you want to play towards an optimized line, you have all this extra econ, you can just do a 3-2 roll down. So he's consciously made that choice to say, no, I've been given a good chance to play around Belveth here. Let's see how far I can shine.
Yeah, absolutely. Hwanmi having some Belveth copies as well. Probably not re-rolling them, of course, but just holding them on the bench for that extra denial potential. Perhaps can consider going for that MF3, right? There's going to be that Legion of Threes.
I don't know if he had this before, but no, he's managed to pick up the Brawler, which synergizes quite well there with the Marauder. Just a nice synergy. We haven't seen as much Master Yi previously. It's had a couple of patches where it's been very
Bài đấu của Hwanmi là có 4 đấu sĩ. Còn fit mid for turn 2 cầm ấn toán cướp có vô cực. Liên cũng khá nhanh mà tuy nhiên thì và setup một chiến thắng cho Hwanmi mà thôi.
It looks like it's going to be enough, staying alive long enough for MF to take out the rest of the backline. So Hwanmi now starting to build up a win streak. Not in the best win out position, but definitely very stable.
Nope, and 60 Seconds gonna have to pull the trigger soon when it comes to stabilizing the board. We get Evelyn Steamroll going to be the option there.
Yeah, definitely a couple of these players who have more HP at the top there, who are more willing to go down that route. However, we do have a couple of players who are definitely leaning towards the rerolls, so we won't really want to skip too far away there from the Varus, especially as they get those 3 stars online. They'll be working their way towards the Varus boon, which will be quite beneficial when they have all those 3 stars to synergize with.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is the point in the game where a lot of these HP totals are going to start to shift and change. Sam D hitting that Belveth 3 items as well. Last Whisper, maybe not going to be the best, but it's good enough for now. Later on, that could be transferred to the Jinx backliner to get all of that shred going. And yeah, this is going to be all those tiny duplicators onto that Cho'Gath. Don't know how many stacks are on that, but it looks fairly beefy.
Yeah, don't mind the items as well, having access to the extra killing nerf, the Spirit Visage. A little bit different there towards the Gargoyles, stacking up all those extra sats there from all the chomps. Going to be getting a nice positioning here as we're able to take out quite a lot of the cannon fodder on towards the side. As long as the Leona doesn't wrap towards the very safe Kai'Sa in towards the backline. It's looking quite strong and didn't manage to hit the Lissandra 3, so instead has slammed the Infinity Edge and is playing around the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, Kai'Sa's not too bad. I know players who go the Darkstar route do use Kai'Sa 2 as a carry before you get Jhin. In fact, Kai'Sa 2 is probably stronger than Jhin 1 in a lot of cases, so you get that Jhin 2. But a really strong carry here for Tiny Giant.
Yeah, and I actually mentioned this before that we were saying, you know, theorizing that previously with the Darkstar you push levels and you get towards the Kai'Sa and the Jhin as your primary carries. In fact, we saw in previous patches that people were just carrying Kai'Sa 2-star all the way up until Jhin, and then Jhin got the leftover items. And Tiny Giant, level 650 gold, has managed to kind of put himself in a position where he can actually stabilize off the Cho'Gath and do exactly that.
Yeah, absolutely. This Cho'Gath has a couple of good items like you were mentioning. Gonna be able to get a lot of stacks going here. And probably gonna get some stacks into Hwanmei here as well. Hwanmei's board hasn't changed that much. Does have a Brawler emblem, however, which can lead to some very strong cap boards.
Yep. Does have 3 items there on towards the Kai'Sa now. He's going to be playing his absolute strongest board. Is an MF 2-star there, so it does have a lot of damage and can deal with it, but the front line is gone, and Cho'Gath's going to survive just long enough with that extra healing that Hwanmei is not going to be able to streak in stage 3.
Go and back into Silek's board here, taking a loss, 6 losses in a row, dropping down. We still see Aurora Gaming, 3 players at the top there, but 60 second at the bottom.
60 seconds going to be, we're going to have a look at 60 seconds pivot to see if he's going to be able to do anything. He does have Amelia 2-star, so
yeah,
this is awkward.
Morgana 2, actually. Yeah, that's a good start.
It's a really strong board, but it's awkward because he doesn't want to roll too much of his gold on level 8 here, right?
No, he doesn't. It's going to be, I think what separates, good players from great TFT players is knowing exactly how much gold you need to roll at these pivotal points. You don't want to overroll because you're not going to be able to cap out as high as you would have. You need to assess the strength of everyone in the lobby. But what's good in 4v4 is everyone's kind of doing that for you as well, helping you, being like, hey, this play is really strong. You might not need to roll that much, right? You're going to be feeding all this information to help out. Every little bit matters as we get the roll down starting.
Yeah, so does still want to roll just a little bit. Already had the Morgana 2 and the Amelia 2, but...
Oh, there we go. Doesn't even have to roll too deep to find the Nami upgrade.
Yeah, that's exactly what you need, and he's able to hold on to all these crucial 1 costs that synergize so well there with the Nami, so it already hits the crucial 4 cost 2-star at the front line, the Morgana, the Nami at the back line. Now, you would hope that that's enough to get to level 9, and as you mentioned before, the best players need to be able to know when to stop rolling. And in positions like this, you have to recognize that even if it's not enough to stop rolling, if you roll deeper, you're going to be in a bad position regardless.
Right, and you have to take a little bit of that risk at some point, right? Because it's not going to be as value if you don't. But seeing as well, once again, this Belveth 3 items does take out the Cho'Gath 3. Akali as well with that Thieves Gloves, right? This board is still strong. Sam D, level 6 on 4-1 on that 5 win streak, and keeping it at stage 4 is really, really important.
Yeah, and has so many copies of the Akali that is probably going to be able to play the Akali regardless. We are given prismatic options here, and for some of these players like Sam D who've already hit the majority of their board, can pick up something like the Tiny but Deadly if they just want pure combat right now. Exactly what it's going to go for.
60 seconds chỉ có lại cho mình là 2 mỏ mà thôi.
Not Tiny Giant there, but that's still going to be fantastic combat power for the board. As we see,
bài đấu của Mi đang được update tên. Vẫn đôn 7 để lên được con 3 sao. Có Rek'Sai 3 sao rồi, vẫn đang roll nhưng mà bắt Maokai thôi. Ui roll kìa. Rất đen cho hơn Mi khi không có một con mid-for nào nữa. Mới là 6 con. Maokai thì là 5 con. Khi đó đã gặp đội hình của Leo có thật là 3 sao. Ở Leo bàn đấu rất là nhanh. Thế là chiến thắng sẽ cho Liluo. Nhưng mà đội hình của Huân Mi thì vẫn chưa lên được cho mình các con tướng 3 sao. Đang roll, đang đôi. Ôi trời ơi, nhìn 2 thành viên của No Shim vẫn đang đứng top trên bảng tổng sắp với 69 máu và 62 máu. Theo sau đó là Lido và AGAL và Huân Mi. 60 second. Huân Mi lại là soi Huân Mi rồi. Huân Mi có roll hay không và mấy 29 tiền tôi nghĩ là không. Ui giời, đã có 7 một con, có 8 con rồi. Còn một con nữa thôi. Huân Mi có roll nữa hay không? Ta cùng xem đến bản thi đấu của AGAL với một con Zoe 3 sao, một con Leona 3 sao, kẹp với cả Victor 3 đủ. Và sẽ là tiếp tục roll Victor, nhưng mà mới chỉ là có 5 con Victor trên sàn đấu. Và roll hết tiền đến từ AGAL. Kéo thêm một con on vào để canh châu thêm và sẽ chiến thắng cho AGAL trước Ji Hàn Ninh.
towards the non-string red force. However, as we've seen previously, the 2-star Akali can be quite stable, as well as the fact that if your primary carry is going to be on towards the Primordians instead, playing around that Bel'Veth, it's not going to be as big of a deal. Although, you know, a little bit of contest within the same team.
Yeah, a little bit, but that's okay. At the end of the day, both can hit. Now some 5-cost options here. Jhin and Sona playing the Space Groove on the board. However, it's probably going to go for the component.
Yep, and this is where we can start to see some of the bottom players pick up that extra 5 cost. If they are given one that synergizes well with their board, it'll be quite powerful as they're able to bounce back before they make it towards level 9. And you'd hope by this point, if you've been loss streaking for the majority of the game, you've utilized those component anvils to get the items that you want. So you're not too picky about the item that you get. It's more about getting your upgrades.
Yeah, and we see 60-second did lose against Silic the last round, but actually has that Vex 2 to potentially go onto the board now at level 9. Finds a Shen as well.
It's a little bit awkward, right? Because you've already made those items there for Nami because she is a caster. He had access to the TG there, so had he got a Blitzcrank 2-star, a Shen 2-star, would have been able to utilize the TG Vex.
Vex 2 on bench.
Yeah, hyper specific on the items that you need for her.
Absolutely. It's a strong board, however, but it's just going to be selling that Vex 2, making a little bit more money. Going up against Tiny Giant here, though. These rounds are very, very important.
Second chỉ còn lại cho mình, nó là 13 máu. Gặp cho mình vài Optimiza mà sẽ là chiến thắng lại cho 60 Second mà thôi. Một vài trận đấu rất là mạnh với con Lamy hay sao, nhưng mà con tay cứng Morgana. Rồi. Roll vẫn đang roll để bắt hết bắt tướng của Huấn Mi. Bắt được có hai con ngủ con. Đây thì Liluo. Anh bằng con Ilaoi. Đam bằng Lissandra, Nami với cả Sona không đồ. Thời gian có cho mình là con các 3 sao, mà tuy nhiên ấy, Kaisa mới chỉ là 7 con. Đủ đẹp, tuy nhiên thì phải là Kaisa 3 và Second gặp Tanizan ở đây. Ai sẽ là người chiến thắng đây? Chắc rằng Second và chắc chắn là chiến thắng ở trên Second rồi.
3-cost unit, so that really feels bad when you don't even hit that. So
nếu Tanizan là gặp ấy chứ. Gặp siêu đắc chứ. Nó sẽ chiến thắng cho cả hai người top dưới thì đều là chiến thắng. Vẫn chưa ai phải là top 8 cả. Chưa ai phải top 8. 19 máu với cả 13 máu. Anizan sẽ chọn món quà gì đến từ phần Varus. Vẫn đang roll. Thế lấy cho mình một giáp, một găng và một nước mắt.
Yeah, having to roll that extra little bit of four rolls down to 0 gold.
Unlucky.
Yeah, he's in a really bad position, and I said that he was in a spot where he could maybe play for first, given that he was given that invested, but it doesn't really look to be the case.
No, it doesn't. A level 7 on the board here for Ahau, of course. Going to find that Victor 2, but not be going for that 3-star. It's just a battle of, hey, let's eke out 1 or 2 more placements. I'm going to position as well as I can. Maybe go level 8, level 9 if I can, but I don't know if Ahau can reach level 9 this game.
Yeah, and has access to the hold the line, so champions like the Karma, who you'd usually see on the back line, aren't going to be stealing any of those stats. It's going to be boosting up the Victor 2-star and the Zoe 3-star. Yep. So we talked about how Zoe can be quite powerful as a 2-cost to try and push you forward. However, actually managed to hit a 3-star and has made it all the way to level 7, so he's definitely feeling quite good about that. It's just going to be throwing in a random Gwen, so I predicted that he might try and push levels with that free Leona 3-star, but unfortunately it isn't the case, and throwing in something like a Gwen means you're going to get absolutely ran over by boards like this.
Look at this, Lilu still making that Lissandra 3 look very strong here at stage 5. That's because the other board was so weak there. But Lilu, I think, very impressive shift from last game, going 8th place with that Akali 5 Nova line that had the Morgana front line instead of the Jax. Wasn't able to work out for here, but good recovery in this game.
Yeah, definitely. The blue buff, red buff there on towards the Karma is definitely going to be supporting this board quite nicely, but you can see still 2 away from the Kai'Sa, and I'm sure if we were to scout across the board, yeah, there's one there, however, still 1 more away and doesn't quite have the gold to get there. However, Aurora's definitely going to be playing defense on that.
Very, very important round for Tiny Giant. And 62nd on the right-hand side as well. Tiny Giant is going to be versing AGAL on the left. AGAL having the Zoe 2 Victor. A lot of damage going to that Cho'Gath, but how long can the Cho'Gath hang on for? Is taking a bite out of this Leona. Kais is going to get another cast here soon, and yeah, it's going to wipe the board of AGAL.
Now Tiny Giant going to lock his shop, or he's going to have to sell Lysandra. Has one away there from the Kai'Sa.
Right hand side though, 62nd. Wow, that's an elimination actually. Was not able to take that round. That's our first elimination. Aurora Gaming is going to drop in 8th place first here.
That is huge because AGAL's still only on 6 HP, so he's
oh, there it is.
Oh, does he have the units he can sell? Has to sell something here.
Has to sell something. It's going to be the Lysandra. I mean, it could be... Oh, okay, we just replaced...
Drops one of his frontline units there, so still has a decent frontline, but is holding on to that copy of the Lysandra in the hopes of picking up a Jhin later. So, can definitely get a little bit stronger.
Playing for the win out.
Quite awkward. AGAL sitting there on 6 HP. So if they have multiple players in Aurora dropping out, then this could be the comeback for Nanjing, as they were looking a little bit weaker before. We can see on the right side of our screen there, the reroll line from AGAL is not looking too hot. The Leona 3-star is going to have to hold on for as long as possible, and is going up against the Nanjing Red Force. Is going to be taken out, and it looks like AGAL is definitely going to be knocked out here.
2 eliminations, it looks like there.
That's 2 of them, and the Giants are falling.
Giants are falling very, very quickly. It's going to be Tiny Giant in 7th. AGAL in 6th. So there's still hope alive for Aurora Gaming. But hey, it's going to be maybe this Nongshim surprising the world here.
Bit of breathing room there. Lilu does still have at least 2 lives. The Nanjing Red Force plays there at the bottom. Silic and Samdi definitely could get taken out quite soon. Janning can give him a couple of lives if he knows his matchup or has any leftover removers. We can see there on the left side, removers are almost all depleted now. It'd be surprising if any of them had any left. We're getting down to that point.
Absolutely. And Aurora Gaming is going to need 1st and 3rd, or 1st and 2nd, to win this game.
Silic actually manages to get a ghost matchup here, so potentially could get an easier fight. Nothing seems to really be removed from the primary carries though. So his board is going to be stronger. Look at the Jin's lucky gloves there, Rolls. Not even lucky, but just
good.
Yeah, incredible. And that's going to make a bit of a difference. Honestly, the fight was somewhat close. So against the real board, could have been taken out.
Sam D
falls.
So it's 2 eliminations.
Ôi trời ơi.
Still anyone's game so far.
Phải là top 1 cho Honmi đó.
Is very scary.
Honmi.
It goes out in 4th place. That's
Phải là top 1 rồi, phải đánh top 1 rồi.
Has Hwanmi in his pool. It's going to come down to if Hwanmi has any removers that he can utilize. He's sitting on a 5-win streak. Definitely one of the strongest boards that we have left here. Silic's position still carrying that on. Doesn't look like he's going to be getting too much stronger as the rounds continue. So I expect that Silic's going to fall, but it's going to come down to whether or not Lilo falls first.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to be seeing both fights here. Silic up against
Hwanmi gặp Liluo à?
And then Lilu versus Hwanmi, and that's the matchup you were talking about.
So did Hwanmi manage to sacrifice any of his board strengths? I would imagine
chiến thắng sau Liluo ấy.
that he had a good chance. And Hwanmi's board's getting absolutely run over. So yes, very credit to Hwanmi there, was able to do that. But is Silic going to fall against his teammate?
Oh, it's going to win as well. So we get another round for both players.
Both teams playing
đã còn 9 máu ạ.
Utilizing their extra HP. They're going to take us to the dragon. We hit the neutrals because they know what's happening with their HP and they are playing the macro game.
Hwanmi is dropping dangerously low as well, though. I think 18
Chúng ta phải top 4 nha.
One life if it's a really bad loss in stage
thì là còn cơ hội cho Aurora.
Players need to win out. They're not
Ôi, căng quá đi thôi.
We'll get to see if they can both hang on.
Yeah, especially because Aurora had 60-second go out in 8th place, means that they really needed to have that 1-3 finish to match the 6-8.
Cái bác đi xong rồi là Honmi top 1 à? 18 với 11 máu à? Ôi, Tiểu Đắc đã lên ô.
Yep, there was a Blitzcrank upgrade in the shop there for Silic, and that's
có Blitz 2 rồi, anh ta có Blitz 2 rồi.
Fantastic for the TG, but they're going to be okay.
There's no more.
Shen goes in.
No more sacrifice play here. Has access to one more remover, but we know because of the matchups they're going to be going up against each other. Silic traveling away here to go
bài đấu của
against
Liluo.
Oh, this is an important fight.
Vì đấu Honmi sẽ gặp Xiao Ninh. Trận đấu rất là quan trọng. Sẽ biết kết quả hay không? Quý nhìn bài đấu của chiến thắng cho Long Xin rồi. Chưa. Ê, chưa nha. Còn cơ hội nha. Vậy là Lilo top 1 là được. Chỉ cần là Lilo top 1 là được. Là sẽ là phải là top 1 đấy, dành cho Lilo đấy. Tien Anh thì còn lại 32 máu, nhưng mà bài có biết được cái gì đâu. Koga 2 à? Chắc 3 mà không có chắc 3. 5 Nova, hình đam bằng Akali và Kindred. Các bài đấu của Liluo, đây là bài đấu sẽ quan trọng này. Tôi nghĩ sẽ là Liluo chiến thắng thôi.
So you would hope for the sake of Aurora that if Hwanmi isn't able to beat Tien Anh.
Rồi Akali rồi. Đam được vào Akali. Kindred vẫn đang bắn mà tuy nhiên thì vẫn Lissandra thì vẫn còn sống á. Một pha thắng cũng khá là sát sao nha. Nào. Vòng đấu tiếp theo thì Honmi thì gặp bóng thì là thắng rồi. Cố lên mấy anh Aurora ơi, cố lên nào. Một bài đấu Perry bằng con Akali, còn Kindred 5 Nova. Sẽ gặp một bài đấu Miss Fortune 3 kẹp tổng tượng cổ. Sẽ là kê tanh vào bên phía của Kindred với Akali thôi. Chiến thắng dành cho Honmi rồi. Trước Liluo á. Ui, Tien Anh có 1 máu kìa. Được nha. Honmi, thầy Honmi.
And crucially here,
Thế Huấn
with 1 HP, that was a sacrifice play. He didn't need to be 1 HP. That was to sacrifice for his own team.
Nha, hai tay đi 1 máu. Vậy là kết quả sẽ như thế nào đây? Căng. Vậy là quan trọng sẽ là xếp bài mà thôi. À đâu, Lilo trước, sao mình nhầm nhỉ? Ủa? Sao đây là Lilo đi rồi mà? Đây sẽ là trận quyết định nào. Combat diễn ra nào, Miss Fortune vì đã bắn. Akali thì đang quét từ vị phía bên trái, nhưng mà tuy nhiên thì Morgana sẽ không chịu lâu đâu và chắc chắn sẽ từ này xem Morgana sẽ đi. Miss Fortune thì vẫn đang bắn vào Akali. Ôi sợ ôi. Sẽ là chiến thắng dành cho Honmi rồi. Chắc chắn là như thế. Ôi giời ơi, thầy Huấn ơi. Chiến thắng dành cho Aurora 2-1. Cảm ơn Tích em. Aurora, ôi thầy Huấn. Team vô địch chưa? Nhìn chưa anh em? Nhìn thấy chưa? Thầy Huấn, ôi trời ơi. Thật sự ấy chứ.
Gonna make it. Maybe the reverse sweep can happen from Nongshim, but even though Nongshim lost, I do want to give them a lot of credit, right? Going toe to toe and taking
lần tiếp theo nhé. Tức là tôi sẽ xem gì? Em muốn xem gì? Data hả?
Yeah, definitely showing up and showing why they were APAC's #1 seed, showing as a unit, 4 players together, so they can tackle the likes of Aurora Gaming. So they definitely can't feel too bad about their performance. Aurora up there looking strong as ever and showing that even after dropping a series, they still can bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. They can bounce back. Aurora Gaming though, I mean,
tôi xem MOUZ với cả AGAL nhé.
Do it all. There was Hwanmi going for loss streak, Hwanmi at top of HP for an entire game, even being that middle of the pack kind of player, right, in game #1. So just show
with 2 TAC round wins as well, but he's also the IGL for this team. He's also the player who has a very strong intuitive understanding of TFT on a very deep
to make sure that you have the players who can do all of it, right? In a game of TFT, based on your starting options, what units you have available, what augments you're given, you can't say, I want to be the designated win-out player, I want to be the middleman. That's not really how TFT works, and it's great to see that these players have range and they've displayed that across 3 games.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, we could say the same thing for both teams, right? It really just is a matter of these little small decision-making things that happen over the course of it, and, you know, it didn't go Aurora Gaming this time, but I think if they played that set, you know, 10 times, it'd be maybe like a 6-4 kind of. I think Nongshim could have absolutely.
For sure. In terms of our predictions on where we thought each one of these teams stood, didn't look like that at all. Maybe after the first game, Aurora looked quite dominant.
Yep.
Then as soon as we headed into game 2, Nongshim bounced back and they showed us, you know, why they're the first seed, and they definitely showed their range and depth as well.
Absolutely, and we take a look again at just how Aurora Gaming was able to do it here with that last one. We see the Belveth reroll for Sam D, right? We hadn't seen that in the first couple of games. We saw Akali Jax, but not this other 2-cost style with the Jinx and Akali Belveth.
Yeah, and it looks like you might have actually gone for it because of the other players trying to play around that Akali as well. So do get a look at 60-second, who we thought was going to be the win-out player. After hitting Morgana too, as well as the backline there with Nami, we thought, okay, this spot's amazing.
It looked real strong.
Push levels, got the Vex, could blame it to low roll there, wasn't the right item, so wasn't able to capitalize off that, so did fall. And then after we saw how was stuck on level 7 playing around a, you know, not a very well upgraded board, we thought Aurora was definitely in trouble. However, from Hwanmi managing to sacrifice enough HP, stay on 1 HP, and then clutch it out with the win, that's okay.
Yeah, really just perfect team play there. At the end of the day, you're talking about just that 1 HP difference. It could be 1 unit in stage 2, right? That goes and makes the difference. Such good stuff there. So look, right, this board looks so strong. It has that upgraded, you know, Horn in the front line, has Nami 2, has Blitzcrank 2 as well. That was a key thing that came onto this. Riven 2 as well, has the Space Groove on it.
Yep, you can see the Ornn there just missing out on 1 cast there, so might have been the turning point. The Blitzcrank did get the revive here, and it looks like there's going to be just too many units overwhelming, and small little things like that can make a huge difference in the outcome of a fight, and therefore outcome of a game. But we did see how powerful this Akali was, managing to make it all the way to the top 2 there with just a Jax 2-star.
I know, right? It's so crazy, the strength of these 2 costs. We wondered, are they going to actually show up here? Because they can get contested a bunch if you're going for the 3-star route, but 2-star is going to be enough to get into that top 4 and even make it a little bit higher than that. But Ji Haneng, of course, wasn't able to do it at the end of the day. Hwanmi playing around that early MF2 was crucial in saving all that HP to get to this point.
Yeah, incredible read there from Hwanmi. After already hitting the 2-star 3-cost, thinking, okay, you know, I'm in a great position here. I can push levels if I want to. No, I'm going to cap out with a very, very powerful board there on towards the level 7. And so he kept rolling, stayed strong, built up the HP lead, sacrificed for his teammates, and then came out with the win.
Yeah, such good stuff there. And I think if this sets a precedent for, you know, the entire event, which it absolutely does, we are in for such a treat. This is just the first match tomorrow. We're going to be seeing so many storylines, so many players really give it their all here at EWC.
Yeah, giving it their all, they will. And it's just the beginning, you know. Nongshim will be able to bounce back. They you know, fall back into the losers bracket. However, this is just the first series. It was a best of 3, and they'll be able to play another one later. However, Aurora definitely going to feel a lot better. Higher confidence. They have an extra life to work with now, and this is just the beginning.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if Nongshim do make a losers bracket run, get all the way back up there, you know, into that playoffs bracket. But right now, we have an interview that Trouble is going to take us through with Aurora Gaming, who are the victors of that match.
Thank you so much, guys. Amazing cast, and I have no other than the current Tactician's Crown champion from Aurora Gaming, Hwanmei, with me. And of course, thank you so much for the translation as well. Hwanmei, congratulations on that win. You are the reason that Aurora won that last game, and majority of the lobby played very heavy towards reroll lines. Why do you think was that the case, and why did you choose Misfortune?
那么我们欢迎回到我们在的现场来。那我们刚才看了一架非常棒的这样精彩的表演，有我们的这个获胜的选手呢，您在这里。我们现在呢想要，你是我们刚才这一场赢的这个主要的原因。那么你对刚才的这一场的比赛是一个什么样的感觉？做了为什么选择了这样的一个站位，这样的一个角色来去进行这样的格斗？
因为就是我们那个什么需要我去那个什么中期混着混着嘛，然后我中期混着混着混出了节奏，最后可能因为我们老八出了点意外，就是地的差了一点嘛，然后其实我们当时就是战术已经有点崩了，然后我就被迫就是必须需要我来做出上线，然后赢下对局。
Actually, during the game, we had a little bit problems with this strategy, and I felt that maybe we were in danger not winning the game, but that's why I was there. I was in that position and finally won this game.
That is incredible, because my next question is, you guys have 16 Tactician's Crown appearances in the entire roster. You have won it 2 times. You've got another Tactician's Crown champion in your team. You guys have big voices in the team. How do you balance it out? And could you potentially be the leader that the team needs?
那么这个很有意思，也带来了我们的下一个问题，就是你的整个的团队是非常强大的，然后每个人都有很大的自己的优势，你们有也有其他的这个冠军。那么在这样的一个团队当中，怎么样来平衡每一个人不同的看法的呢？那是你会在未来的比赛当中成为团队的领先的人物吗？领军的人物？
在这个团队里，我是就是一般是我来主导，就是整个比赛的走势。然后我们队里的选手都实力非常不错，所以我们其实要求也非常高。就是我们不仅那个什么，我们所有人都可以那个当那个什么，就是这把游戏的终结者，也可以当这把游戏的辅助者。就是我们需要所有人根据游戏情况去适配当局的角色。
Well, yes, we have a great team. Everybody in this team is really strong. Most of the time, I would be the leader. I would take the lead. However, everybody else, they are strong. So we need to see the actual situation and then decide who will be in which position, so that we can collaborate and then be a great team together.
But talking about being a great team together, Aurora Gaming coming from China. There's other Chinese orgs here. Weibo, the title defender. We have JDG and AGAL. Hwanmei, do you think that Aurora Gaming is coming in as the strongest Chinese team?
是的，那么您的团队非常的强大，但是同时我们知道呢，这场比赛当中还有未来的很多的有力强大的对手，包括我们的 JD Gaming， 包括我们的 AGAL 等等这些团队。那您觉得你们这个团队在这样的一个总体的比赛当中的表现会如何呢？您是否有信心能够取得最终的胜利？
其实我们信心还是非常足够的，就是我希望就是我们团队打好接下来比赛。由于 BO3， 可能我们团队有时候可能确实就是有时候会发挥失常，但我们整体水平都还是比较在线。希望就是我们能够顶住压力。
Yes, that's right. They are our strong opponents, and however, I have a great confidence in our team. Occasionally, our team members may have different discussions. We may not perform perfectly well, but I believe we can take this challenge. I think we have the courage and I have the confidence.
Nothing else expected from the goat of Teamfight Tactics. Thank you so much for the translation. 幻灭，谢谢。
非常感谢
We'll see
您
you guys very shortly.
Play is in our DNA. Whenever we let it out, it becomes our superpower. Now imagine an entire city being built to supercharge it. Kadir City, powered by play.
We were there. For every click, every clutch, every respawn. We were there for the years of grind. And we're here. Now. The proud founding partner of EWC. Powering the biggest event in gaming. Shoulder to shoulder with the world's best. Making history. Greatness deserves a stage. Lenovo Legion. Reach your impossible.
We book Esports World Cup.
Welcome back to EWC 2026 Teamfight Tactics Tournament. I'm Troubling, your host, and I'm here with Barry and Tamura to get you to our next game. Finally, we're getting EMEA on the stage, guys. We have MOUZ versus AGAL, comes from China.
Yeah, exactly. So all gamers, very, very strong roster. We already saw the dominance from China. 2-1 slip. Barry almost was the prophet there.
However, Juanmi said that their team is stronger than AGAL.
He did say their team was stronger. He said that, they have a lot of great voices there. Sometimes he had to be the leader, the captain, to kind of ground themselves.
That's
and he
right.
also showed that he can not only do that in the voices, but also on the stage.
Yeah, but with this MOUZ squad on the other side, this is the EMEA top seed. So they've had a great performance so far in qualifying. It's a stacked roster. In terms of our series today, this is probably one of the hardest to call in that you look at it and you're thinking, okay, there's crown experience amongst all 8 players.
Absolutely. So for MOUZ right here coming through, Wet Jungler, the only returning player for the roster. And then we've got Travis, Og, and Kubikson. I'm a little bit biased for Og because we're both Greek, so I am rooting for him to do pretty well. However, I will say in recent TPCs, I feel like those players have sort of been struggling, specifically with Jungler and Og.
I think Travis has probably been the most consistent player over the last 2 seasons. And you might look at this and think Jungler's the player that's had a second place at a crown. He's had the most high-profile finishes, but Travis has been really solid ever since TPC started. And I think that's a player that they're maybe going to be leaning on to just carry on that consistency into this tournament.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Wet Jungler's experience will start to kind of shine here again. He can start a new road. Or versus on the other side of all gamers, you actually have multiple players there, the Chu-chan and Ryu. So we have multiple players who have 2 appearances at Tactician's Crowns, and one of them came second at both of them. And that's got to feel bad. Like, you're the prince of TFT if you're managing to do that, getting all the way to the second place.
I think a thing for all gamers is a huge advantage is their coach is HorrorX, who plays in the EMEA circuit. So he knows all of these players super well, and that's going to be a massive advantage.
All right, well, we're going to check out the MOUZ players as well. They've prepared something for us, so we get to see it on our screens right now.
Hello, I'm Cubixon. I represent MOUZ at EWC. On my team, there is our captain, Travis, who is really vocal. He speaks a lot in-game or also in the outside of the game. There is also Ak. He's a bit quiet, but he also has like the different perspective of the game, and it definitely helps us. And there is also Jungler, who has like the most experience of the 4v4 format. He been on all the EWCs yet, so me, Travis and Doc played the last year qualifiers as well. I want MOUZ to be remembered as the best team in the Europe.
We had Cubixon right there telling us how Travis takes the lead on that roster. However, on the AGL roster, I see so many goated names who have attended TAC Crown so many times. And I'm like, hey, it might be a situation like Aurora where there's just too many strong voices coming through.
Yeah, Li Xuan has 4 crown appearances himself, but as we touched on with Aurora, sometimes these rosters out of China are so star-studded, it feels like every roster they send is just some of the most experienced players you have, and then it's difficult to exactly find who is taking the lead on these squads and who is the player that is going to have the driving seat.
Yeah, and they have so much experience being to the crown that many times, but I really like that Cubixon touched on the fact that the different players had range. They had their own roles, and so being able to fill those different gaps is super important within the game, but also outside of it for preparation.
And guys, we're just moments away from getting in the game. So everyone at home, enjoy this game between MOUZ and AGAL. It's going to be a best of 3, and Tamura and Baron are going to take you through that game.
Thank you very much, Trouble. And yeah, as we do approach this game to Tamura, a quick prediction from yourself. How do you think the series is going to go? Any first thoughts as we see these players getting ready to load it?
Look, honestly, I was sold on the All Gamers taking the series over MOUZ, but after seeing... Well, I was. But after seeing that infographic there from Cubixon and seeing the range and the different roles that each one of those members fought, I'm kind of on his side now. I'm going to say 2-1 to MOUZ from his words alone. What about yourself?
I'm going for a 2-0 for MOUZ. I am the EMEA caster. There's a little bit of bias in there, but they're the first seed coming out of EMEA. MOUZ are a returning team, but they actually have only 1 player in junglers. We do get in here, we have Varus or Evelyn as our options, so 2 completely different gods in how they shape the game.
Yep, and a combination that we did see in the previous lineup before, and that specific combination does allow the Varus to enable those rerollers, and we actually saw that kind of get out of control. Once Varus was an option for some of these players, they said, this is going to enable me, and I'm going to follow that.
And it's a 2-cost start as well, so already you might have some players that have some very early direction. I think just as we touch briefly on some of the players, you know, if you're new to TFT and you're new to this MOUZ squad, you might think, oh, this Cubixon guy looks like he's potentially a rookie. This is a player that's been around for so long in EMEA and actually has 3 crown appearances himself. So just because some of these players might seem young, they've got a lot of experience.
Yeah, you're definitely selling the side of EMEA to anyone watching or listening to give them a little bit more experience, despite if they haven't had as many TAC Crown experiences because they've been playing for so long. And now they're coming together as a unit. You mentioned that we have the 2 cost, but also options of the 3 cost being dropped early gives so much direction, as we know that if you get champions like Pantheon, then you know you can get the Timebreaker online, you can push levels. We saw a lot of that with the Chinese. Do you think that the EMEA is going to be as greedy as we saw China with the early econ openers?
I think every team should have somebody that's at least been super greedy. I think as a team, if you don't have one player that's playing maximum econ early, I think it's a mistake. You should always look around your lobby and think who's best set. As you said, jungler here, pretty clear potential direction with Replicated. It is the bar for Stargazer, as I observed. Thank you to the observers for showing us that. So potentially a little bit of drip econ, but don't imagine Stargazer will be leaned into too heavily in this game.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be the default line. We know that in recent patches that players have started to adopt, refine, and really put a high priority on towards this Xayah line. It's been optimized. Before it was just the Lulu, whether or not you had the specific setup, you had the right Ornn items. However, you know, we haven't seen any of it yet. Maybe we will soon.
Do get into our first augments here. It is gold augments. So we've seen Spreading Roots be very influential. Treasure Hunt in a Varus when you have potential reroll options. Also a good option. So these players will be discussing who's best set for certain lines. Augment rounds Tamura definitely take a little bit longer in 4v4.
Yes, most definitely, because the spreading roots is available, and that's one of those choices that you want to take, and then you just wait and see what you get. So the treasure hunt, he could be saying, look, I am available to take treasure hunt. However, maybe just waiting to see one of his teammates if they're going to say, no, my position to play Akali is perfect this game. Do not contest me, take spreading roots, and then they have more flexibility as a unit of 4.
Yeah, and we can see how long Travis is taking to make this decision. He was looking across to his teammates, does go for spreading roots in the end. So Timebreaker, something that allows you to potentially push on Fast 9. Nova, which does obviously open up the likes of Akali, but also just a flexible emblem as well. So both really, he can still take this game any direction. Yeah. We see on the other side, Jungler already having that 3 Timebreaker, so just player in a good position.
A little bit awkward when you have to be the captain, Travis, there. You know, making sure that everyone in your team of MOUZ is super comfortable with their position. It actually left his final board that he ended up making on 2-1 just kind of all over the place, because he had to take spreading roots at the very last second and then would have had about maybe 2 seconds to adjust his entire board with not that much time to do so.
Yeah, I think we saw on the other side though, Jungler having Advanced Loan already, as well as 3 Timebreaker. We said every game there should be somebody, as we do check in with him here, that is leaning towards his econ opener. Definitely a good position to be in. Primordial, another thing we've seen always picked up early on, just so much clear direction. And Akali too, waiting to go to Mira.
Akali too, incredible. And utilizing the Primordial there to get the extra resources there. So we saw previously maybe playing towards the backline there with the Belveth, but no, definitely in this position, once you commit to upgrading a 2 cost, you definitely want to be playing around it. But even if we're not making the econ intervals, as long as we've got the 3 Primordial in here, we're definitely feeling great about our position.
Yeah, 4 copies of Akali as well. As you said, it's still going to be pulling it in, so you don't need to push levels. You can just have this go on the board. Anyway, we see Primordial on the flip side for Li Chuan as well. So 2 strong econ starts. He's got the Sona coming down the line eventually. So I think a lot more augments that you maybe necessarily in single TFT wouldn't consider. But I think exactly like that, you have certain players that are just going to be playing for their late games.
Yeah, and certain players really like to play around the econ because it gives them more flexibility. We've seen in previous EWCs that players put a lot of high priority on augments, which give them a lot of extra econ, even if it doesn't mean that they're going to cap out as high, just so that they can play defense. However, on top of the augments that you can get extra econ, it seems like everyone really wants to be playing around things like Timebreaker, the Primordial, so they have more flexibility in what they do.
You see, even though that Jungler had 3 Timebreaker in, he actually sells one of the copies to be able to try and make himself weaker. So a player that's prioritizing that lose streak over anything else, which makes sense. You do want to deny the other lose streak of potential from the other team. And I think early on, as we do see the setup here, there's quite a lot of direction already locked in. So we already know which players on Akali, we already know which players are going towards Fast 9. And I think maybe in some of we saw in the last series, some lines were a little less clear this time around. Definitely not the case.
Yeah, definitely not the case. Taking something generic there like the Thresher's Lantern just enables you to have a relatively strong setup here.
Crazy spot to be in, yeah.
Destroying the competition whilst making the econ. It's going to feel bad for Wet Jungler if he's taken something like the Advanced Loan. Will definitely be weaker later, and then having to make his board worse, not getting the extra Timebreaker in just for the sake of being a team player. I'd expect that Wet Jungler is going to have a lower placement because of this, but overall should put his team in a better position.
Yeah, we do see the Varus option here is 3 cost shop, so it's not a case that we're going to get into tiny dupes or anything like that. So for the potential 2 or 1 cost rerollers won't be as impactful. So on the other side, Evelyn has so risky to take anyway, but in 4v4 it feels like it's an extra risk. Last time round when Evelyn was offered, not a single player opted for it as their boon, so definitely something that players don't want to be seeing.
Yeah, it definitely feels like something that you can take if you want to be the designated win-out player, but even the win-out player really wants to be sacrificing HP if they're streaking to get there. That's really what you're going to see with this kind of setup, but we'll have to wait and see if anyone is going to gamble into that, if they think that we have multiple players with extra HP. We did see previously the tiniest Titan being picked up, and you can kind of leverage that both ways, right? Because the tiniest Titan will give you the extra HP, which you can then sacrifice to Evelyn to give yourself more resources, but it honestly looked really weak as a 3-2 pickup because you're down that Prismatic.
We saw there actually Org had his 3-cost shop, which was 3 copies of Urgot. He already had a copy, and I think he was like, this is really expensive to commit, but he is our player on a win streak. I think a little bit of discussion between the MOUZ squad there, probably thinking, okay, this is a fairly flexible unit for the mid game, you can play around it, so does opt to pick that up. And I think MOUZ and AGAL both in pretty comfortable positions right now. We see on the flip side, I think Achen definitely the player that's feeling the most confident about this game.
Yeah, as we see Kubikson also playing around the spreading roots, so players really seem to love this. I don't know if it's just in regular or if maybe it's 4v4 that it gives you even more direction. If you have too many players in the spreading roots, it could be a little bit dicey as a team of 4 to try and navigate, but maybe 1 or 2 players is the sweet spot.
Yeah, I think in 4v4 definitely even more favored than it already was in traditional TFT, where we saw it be picked up pretty regularly. I think you either pick it instantly and then the rest of your team knows what emblems you have and they can make their decisions on their augments, or you wait till the end, as we saw this time around, and then pick it. I think those are the 2 scenarios. You either insta-click it or you wait until as late as possible. And in this case, we saw MOUZ taking that damn sweet time with it. As we do load in to our final round of Stage 2 here, Tien should be able to keep the streak going. It's coming up against a pretty beefy frontliner on the other side, but we know how powerful this Akali is, especially early on.
Yep, and going up against the Primordian there from the Legion of 3, seems a little bit awkward. We have seen the Primordian reroll there with the Belveth. It worked to some extent. Definitely not as powerful there as the Akali, however, it can be utilized quite well. We saw that Hwanmi was able to cook up quite well with the Legion of 3s, playing around the 3-cost MF. Do you see anything or any potential there when you're playing around the Primordian, or do you think it's more going to be just used as extra econ?
I think last game we saw it was lent into econ, last series, sorry, so I think the Jinx reroll line kind of fell away a little bit because of the emergence of Akali. Definitely makes it more difficult to play. Tien did lose his streak there, so it was pretty close. Still in a good position, though. 3 copies of Jax as well, so not going to be panicking too much. But having the Primordian in, as he said, just drip econ. We saw players, they keep Anima in for a few rounds, they keep Primordian in for a few rounds. Every little advantage you can get.
And one thing I want to highlight is if you look at the streaks across the board, so MOUZ are actually in a much better position in the sense that Wet Jungler was able to maintain 5, Travis was quite weak, but he still has a nice 4 streak. Then you flip over to All Gamers there, 1 lost streak there, snapped from Weimuz, snapped from Lituchan. They're feeling a lot worse about that position because, and also a Chen at the top had a 4 win streak and then got it snapped at the end. So across the board, definitely not as good as they could have been, and are now going to be suffering in econ because of it.
Yeah, and Travis and Jungler going to head-to-head in round 2-1 definitely set that up for the rest of the stage. We do take in here with Li Chuan, who already has that Sona coming down the line, so definitely wants to play this AP flex line. Having Nami as your mid-game item holder, definitely going to be nice. Another player keeping this Primordian in, just trying to eke out every little advantage. You need extra econ in 4v4 because it's a lot harder to find your units because there's so many people playing defense.
Yep, and on the side of this Yuchan playing around this delayed boost of power there from the Sonar. He doesn't have the aura farming until he actually gets it on the board. So he's going to be playing down a gold augment, but when you're looking across the board in your opponent's side with Travis and Wet Jungler playing for that loss streak, that's going to, give you a little bit of breathing room. You can actually play a weaker board during stage 2. It's unlikely that they're going to be super strong during stage 3. And then by the time you get to stage 4, you've got your Sonar 2 online, most likely with 3 items.
Yeah, and this is a dream scenario for MOUZ where you have the 2 lost streakers and 2 players healthy. It doesn't matter if they have a full streak, you need players that can sack late game for your lost streakers. So whereas AGAL have a lot of players middle of the pack right now, I think the HP advantage could end up being pretty important if Kubikson's able to keep that going. But Ryu on the other side, 5 win streak, definitely a player that's setting down a bit of a marker as we do get more gold augments coming through.
More gold augments and options like the Earth there, if you want to utilize multiple different spatulas, synergizes quite well with some of the previous emblems that we've seen picked up. You get a little bit of extra econ with the Pilfer. Pilfer's an interesting one, right? Because that's where you get the extra copy of a champion that you killed. Now in a 4v4 setting, that can get exciting.
Yes, it certainly can. You can guarantee upgrades for your team. You can go, okay, you need your 2-star frontliner, I'm going to play the 1 copy I have in my shop. And then you can potentially sell it the round after you play them. Or you can even play Denial. You can guarantee you're hitting the units that other players need, and then you can hold on to them. So very valuable.
And he's playing Akali. So any one of his teammates who has an Akali on board, if they can even partially justify playing that Akali on their board in any way, shape, or form, that's going to be perfect. That's feeding Akalis.
And Akali, you can pretty much always justify. This was one of the trait bot units of the whole set. When you get to these legendary suit boards, Akali was always there anyway, so it feels like easy to pick up. Players can just hold the 1 copy. They don't want to make a 2-star because it could deny their teammate, and then as you said, they can feed that over. So definitely a great position to be in. We see Kubikson very strong early game board here, able to make good use of that Legion of Threes, pick up a pretty comfortable victory.
Yeah, and I feel like that's going to be the turning point, really, of this game, is how quickly they're able to get the Akali 3 online. In a game of TFT where there's so many variables, so many things that lead to the final fight, it's very easy to determine, you know, what went wrong at the end, but it's the crucial points along the way that really enable that.
Yeah, and we do see here with Jungler, who is our lost streak player, so you touched on, he took that advanced loan, which can be risky. He then took another risk with the emblem. He already had the Shepherd emblem, this is not the one he got. So he's got the Rogue coming through, which is, okay, you can maybe fit the likes of Riven onto almost any board, but definitely not what he was looking for. However, Rageblade, Shepherd +1, having the Aurora upgrade, should be a decent setup to get towards that LeBlanc. But on the other side, we have a player with the exact same setup.
Yeah. And the Rageblade synergizing very well there with the Shepherd. We've seen LeBlanc been heavily contested across the board. The extra items there, it's going to take a while before we get everything else online. But already having that Aurora there on the side means you're going to have a very stable stage 3. That being said, going up against the double Gargoyle tech seems to be absolutely unkillable at all stages throughout the game.
Yeah, it certainly is incredibly strong, especially when you have Arbiter and Shepherd +1, such a good emblem hit on the side of Ryu. So able to pick up that victory there. And I think you touched on LeBlanc being the most contested so far. That definitely was the case during regionals, where going into week 1, basically no one played LeBlanc. And then week 2, everyone was like, oh, LeBlanc was the best thing last week. And we are, obviously the patch has changed slightly, but for the most part, things are very similar. So LeBlanc's still going to be a comfort comp for any of your teammates that are just stuck on level 8.
She plays around that attack speed, that Rageblade. She scales really well into the fight, so it's really just about optimizing your frontline and how the meta evolves. So if you have a fast-paced comp where the backline's getting wrapped, your frontline's getting destroyed in seconds, she just doesn't have that time to ramp up. Whereas if you have a slower-paced meta where other people are playing store comps as well, that's where she really shines, and so that's what matters.
And there's so many frontlines you can play. It's very flexible. We see the Shepherd variant. You can play around Nunu, you can play around Morgana. We see even Kench as an option. So lots of different frontlines you can build. As we check back in here with Org, who, off the back of this early emblem, 2 flexible options, is potentially just playing Space Creep anyway, but has Timebreaker in, so can still take this game any direction, has a lot of extra econ to work with through the additional XP he's getting.
Yeah, and aside from Wet Jungler, we've seen all of the different double gold pairings. It means that there's actually quite a lot of emblems across the board. We've seen a couple of these players pick up the spreading roots there, but we've also seen people willing to pick up the extra Earth's Gambit there just to continue that potency. We've seen in previous sets how some players will go for those verticals. They'll gamble this, they'll try and get, previously getting getting an emblem off of Carousel, something like that, the extra spatula, and go for the verticals. This doesn't really seem to be the case in this set. The verticals aren't what they're chasing here.
Yeah, it certainly seems that, especially Space Groove, unless you get the +1, you just play the 5-piece. We see there's a lot of different ways to play the 5-piece. Obviously, there's the reroll option or just playing around Nami. But as you said, those chase traits, definitely not as prominent as they have been in the past.
That's another Pilfer player is there, except this one's not Akali, so Rhea also picked up the Pilfer there. But then if you can sacrifice a Leona to your buddy, then that's going to be even easier to get towards the Leona. The only thing that I'm concerned about is normally when you play those certs, the Pilfer, you want to try and sacrifice some 4 or some 5 costs. Yes. That can be really difficult to do later into the game. Sounds good in theory, but sacrificing a 5-cost unit can be difficult.
And they have the 2 players on Pilfer as well, and if you're both trying to give 1 or 2 costs, you're both delayed in cashing out your Thieves Gloves from the Pilfer, which is essentially playing down a gold augment for quite a long time. So even though the potential is there, if it costs them too many rounds potentially in stage 3, if it means they're not able to get maximum value in econ from the augment as they're trying to greed, could end up working out the opposite direction. As we do see, Kubikson is our one player on this 6-win streak here. We know his Legion of Threes board was very strong, but on the other side, Ryu, pretty good Shepherd board, not enough to be able to take down Kubikson's setup here. And keeping that streak going, he's going to have a lot of HP to potentially trade if he needs to in the late game.
Yep, there we can see the Legion of Threes as well as the Earths there. But you do get a look at Wet Jungler, the only player on the board who has a silver augment. Is going to be level 8 thanks to that advanced loan and is able to roll down during 3-7 the neutrals instead of waiting until 4-1. This gives him pick of the litter. He can choose exactly what units he wants to take out of the pool first, whilst also playing defense. You can see he's playing around a nice AP flex board, but also is holding on to extra copies of Kindred there.
Yeah, keeping that as an option due to having the Rageblade, but sells off a copy. I think the flexible part for where jungler is who the secondary carry is and the front line, but he needs LeBlanc. So rolling early before the potential other LeBlanc players, before anybody else is level 8, so might not be in their shops. And also in 4v4, if you at this round for jungler, he asks his teammates, anybody got a LeBlanc in their shop? They can either buy or sell it. Able to get the upgrade in front line he needs, but he does need the backline.
Double LeBlanc shop there at the end, so it was looking quite dire. I think you could see the look on his face, wasn't too happy with his initial rolls. Frontline is looking immaculate, really just needs that one final copy. But you gotta think 4-1 before we even get to 4-2 augment that this board should be enough to at least stabilize him. I don't know how strong his matchups are.
Yeah, should be okay here. Does have the voice stuff coming through, an additional item on top of LeBlanc as well, potentially. And should be in a pretty comfortable position, whereas Li Chuan here still yet to get to his 5 cost that is loading in. He has the Sona items ready on a Sona, but as of now, still playing down essentially 2 gold augments and hasn't hit really an awful lot.
Yeah, really needs that front line to come online. The Morgana, it's going to be taken quite well, but it's going to be one more round sacrificed until we can get to the next augment and then finally get the Sona online. Winning this is huge from Li Chuan if he can win this going up against Orc. So luckily that he's able to clutch out a win here just so he can have multiple lives, but jungler sitting on 38 is quite comfortable. No players have dropped to 1 life yet, so it's definitely a lot of room to bounce back, but having multiple players needing to play out for that win out from the bottom position can be quite scary as we do get another gold option here.
Yeah, so is a triple gold coming through unless you're wet jungler, in which case it's not. But for everybody else, that does mean you've seen a lot of your gold augments already. You know what you potentially can almost guarantee in some cases, so it does give some good options. Ryu, though, unfortunately in a position where he has to hit the booster pack, so he's going to be trying to go potentially to level 9, but try to roll a little bit on 8, and no combat power at all to mirror from these augments, so if he doesn't hit really everything, he's going to be very, very weak.
Yeah, a little bit awkward there. He's carrying the Victor, so decently strong. On the opposite side, we have here Travis, who's managed to utilize that Pilfer quite well, make lots of extra money, roll down quite aggressively, go all the way to level 8, and he's kind of already given up on the Akali. Oh, no, now I see why. Looks like.
Already, as you said, on the other side, there was a player from AG playing it as well, so maybe just thinking, if I play this line, it's going to slow them down. We know Akali 2 is strong enough on its own in a lot of instances. So essentially having someone play defense, and Travis did have a 5-loss streak at the beginning of the game, is now on a 6-win streak, so able to have a lot of extra econ. Not a player, not your win-out candidate for MOUZ, but definitely someone who can have a solid placement as well as playing denial.
Yeah. And the Akali 3 is looking quite powerful. He's getting stunned around a little bit. The Riven's not going to have enough DPS, I don't think, to get through the front line there. Aug is going to take a loss. Archen managing to hit the extra duplicators there. It's going to synergize quite well. We can already see Varus has been picked up twice there. So very, very strong, utilizing the portal to make the most of his position, as well as the gods offering their boon.
And has the Space Groove emblem for Riven as well, which is so, so strong. Not as insta-win as it once was, but can be certainly a candidate in a lot of cases. Li Chuan finally getting that Sona coming through. He had to wait a long time from the aura farming and bled quite a lot of gold, but key upgrades in the front and the backline have been hit.
Yeah, so getting the aura farming means you're guaranteed to have a nice stable board once the rest of your supporting units are online. Has access to the extra LeBlanc, is going to be utilizing that Sona mod to give the LeBlanc an extra item. Li Chuan is going to be denying a couple of extra units there. He's looking to get the Karma as well, so could have triple carry by the time we head into stage 5. I'm not too sure if Wet Junglers managed to hit the LeBlanc, because if both parties have the LeBlanc 2 online, then that's going to be end of denial for that unit.
Yeah, certainly can be. And Li Chuan actually holding the Nami pair as well, so leaving himself really open.